Hi, I don't know what that random black screen was for a moment. Alright, sick. Okay. I don't know why I was in the void for a second there, but hi, hello. Hi, Stacy. Hi, I missed you. Hi, Pumpkin. Go ahead. Actually, no, we'll keep music on. We'll keep music on. Hello. It's been so, yeah, it has. Oh my God. You came into an interesting one for coming back. It's okay. My schedule was kind of spotty anyways for a little bit due to mouse stuff, but we're back. We're back, so it's good. It's all good. How's the recovery? It's going good. At this point, it's just like I can eat now. It's more so the like bottom of my jaw is kind of uh really sore because the nerves got messed up a bit since I had teeth in my nerves. So it's still a bit sensitive, like if I touch my face there, like so sleeping's kind of annoying, and like if I eat a little too far back it hurts, but for the most part it's pretty fine. I'm at the point where it's pretty good. I can For the first, like, earlier this week, last week, I tried streaming and then, like, I think I talked a little too much and my jaw couldn't handle it, but now I can talk pretty well and not have any pain, so I think for the most part we're in the clear now, which is good. Yapping Street? Yeah, well, because I officially, officially have my first political stream where I have gathered a lot. I did so much prep work. I was doing so much prep work for this. I haven't immediately transitioned to it because to put it bluntly, like it's a little kind of a vibe shift. So, I wanted to like at the start kind of get out just like personal news and like what's up, like little, you know, greets and stuff before like I immediately start talking about like some sad shit or something, because politics be like that. Uh, yeah, I do have a collab later tonight. Um, exactly, Princess Mina. Yeah, I do have a collab tonight with it'll be with Chi, Shira's girlfriend, who's so sweet, so sweet, as well as two of her friends who I have not had the luxury of really meeting properly, so I'm really excited to meet them. It's a girly collab. So we got our first official all girly collab, so we got the first woman collab fully on the broadcast. Yippee. I'll do the weather part. It's raining. We will be doing Overcooked, which I have never played Overcooked, so that's gonna be interesting for me. I have never played it. I've never really even watched videos of it. I just know that Overcooked is one of those, I do know it is one of those games where people end up like yelling at each other a lot and are like, if you don't get your fucking head in there, like I know it turns into an episode of The Bear really quickly from what I've been told, so I'm interested about that, but I've never played it, so that'll be new for me. That'll be a new experience. That'll be later tonight due to unfortunately I couldn't get it earlier in the day because she just had her official like 2.0 kind of her official debut Saturday, so she's doing a lot of like debut week things, so I went around Chi's schedule for that, so it is later than usual, but I will have a VOD and everything up for those who will be eeping or working or can't be there. Tomorrow, Stinky League with Shiro. Oh my god, speaking of which. Speaking of which, the man himself. Yeah, we're gonna be doing some Stinky League tomorrow. He's still trying to get me to play ranked. It's not gonna happen. He's trying really hard. We actually two collabs with Shiro this week. So we have League tomorrow, and for those of you who don't want to subject yourself to watching League, we will be doing Pokemon Thursday. So that'll be fun. We'll be doing Pokemon. I had some issues with my game, and so we want to do shiny hunting, but I had some issues with my game, so I have to fucking redo my Pokedex. So we're gonna be redoing my Pokedex is what we're gonna be doing. And then after that we'll be able to do we'll be able to do actual like shiny hunting streams, which will be fun, and like random like just co-op Pokemon content. Is it okay to watch news even though I don't identify? Yes, everyone, for one, gal is a mindset. Anyone could, but yes, of course. It's just, I am the gal and I am your anchor. My credentials. I'm a nerd. That's my credentials. What else? We have a visual novel. Wednesday we're doing the Hollow Stars visual novel, and you guys are gonna see me be very embarrassing. So that'll probably be something you guys will laugh at about because I will be very embarrassing probably for that because I'm gonna be playing a visual novel where two of my Oshis are the characters. So I'm gonna be very embarrassing with that. I still don't. I'm gonna try to do multiple playthroughs of it because I don't think the visual novel's that long. I think it's way shorter than like Date with Death and stuff. But I'm gonna at least like I'm for sure doing the Shinri and the Axel playthroughs of that for sure. Excited for Monty Python. Oh my god, I can never say Monty Python. Yes, Monty Python for subbies in the Discord this week. Yes, very excited. One of my favorite comedy movies. It's so funny. It's so charming. I think it's like the quintessential like old school fantasy comedy movie up there with Princess Bride, which I still will have us watch. It's just Princess Bride. I have to do some searching for it, you know. It's not on like Netflix, so I gotta do some soul searching for the Princess Bride. But we will do that. Because also I just had to stress with the fact that dumbass me in fact not put my pass. Ooh, oh, passports are so expensive and they're so hard to get new ones. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I hope you find it. Cause yeah, passports are a bitch to get because you gotta go to the DMV and shit. Hulu or Disney Plus? I don't have either of those, unfortunately. My relationship with Hulu, 3 hours of looking. Okay, at least you found it, but Jesus, 3 hours. That's unfortunate. Yeah, what's it called? My brain. Um, Yeah, my how I go about Hulu is when House of the Dragon drops, I find some kind of website that gives me a week free trial, and then I binge all of House of the Dragon on a free trial. And that's how, that's how that's how I use Hulu. That's how I use Hulu. I used to be a Hulu girly. I was a Hulu girly exclusively. I did not fuck with Netflix. I still prefer Hulu. It's just I don't I only have Netflix because Boyfie has Netflix right now, for his family. So like that's the only reason, but like honestly, I think Hulu has better selection, personally. Oh, you have two visas? Ooh, yeah. They're gonna be really annoying about that if you try to get that replaced. Um, I will say, the good place on it, yeah, I know that's a really popular one. Since it's September, so what I'm thinking is usually we try typically to do like two movie nights a month or so, you know? So what I'm thinking is for September, we're just gonna do like, usually we do like spooky and then non-spooky. I'm thinking we're gonna do two non-spooky movies for September, and then for October, we'll do spooky, and I'm thinking I might spoil you guys and we'll do a weekly horror movie for October because it's October. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. So we can do like another like not spooky movie for those who can't handle like Shiro, for example, who can't handle spooky things. They can still, you know, get a bit of a fix before October shut down. For someone like Shiro who can't handle anything spooky because he's a big baby. Which I am trying really hard. I'm already like envisioning things that I'm doing for October. I want to because I feel like I have to as someone who likes spooky things. Like I feel like I have to like pop my pussy for it, you know? I can't like not do some fun stuff, you know? So I'm gonna try to do a variety of like games and like I think it would be fun to do one of those streams where we watch those like ghosts caught on camera kind of videos, you know? Like I think those are so silly. I think those are so funny. Like a spooky fit for your model. I'm gonna try to cook up something. I already have like I've been gathering for a long time, like trying to gather various assets that I can use as like costumes, so to speak, for like the actual week of Halloween, because I think that would be cute. But I'm gonna try to like come up with something because I think it would be cute. I'm gonna do the best I can. And I'm gonna try to also like I think it'd be fun to maybe do some like Reddit like no sleep stories or like maybe some SCP, like I don't know, some I want to do a variety of like watching like scary video content and watching like playing games and then like reading stuff and then just like talking about maybe like urban legends or you know, I think that kind of stuff would be fun. Slenderman fanfic? Ooh. Would you laugh at me if I've actually read that book? Would you laugh at me if I've actually read that book? I don't think I can read the kind I read though on stream. I think I would get in trouble for reading the kind that I read on stream. Listen, all I'm gonna say is the Dead by Daylight tag hates to see me coming. They hate to see me coming. I think it could be funny to also do maybe like I don't play Dead by Daylight and I don't desire to because like I don't like the community and like I don't know, I just don't want to engage. But I really like the character designs that come from the entities from Dead by Daylight. I think like a smash or pass or like a tier list of like Dead by Daylight killers could be really fun as well. Like I think that could be a fun one that's like more lighthearted for it. Zomboid? Yeah, I would be fine playing Zomboid with you, Shiro. I'm just really fucking bad at it. I'm gonna warn you. But I've also only ever played modded Zomboid. I don't play like normal Zomboid. Um, because I got my shit modded to be like girly pop as fuck. Like like I gotta make sure that I can serve like Rosita from The Walking Dead cunt when I'm playing, you know? Like I have to be able to serve. Um Yeah, I would love to do that. Like I said, like I said, Shiro, I want to do something like spooky adjacent with you, but since I know you're not into scary things, I'm not gonna force you to play like a scary game or something. Like that's mean. Like I'm totally fine doing something like Zomboid because that's still zombies, or even just like honestly, we could even just do like Reddit horror stories where we're just like going through like r slash like am I the devil or something, because I would count most of those as actual horror stories. So like even something like that, like I think would be fun. So I'm not gonna force you to play anything spooky. But if you need, again, if you need someone to give you support when you hit your horror game sub thing, I'll be there. I'll be there, bud. I'll be there. We are doing Silent Hill as well this week, Friday. We're almost done. I'm just really scared. I'm really scared because like oof, I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie, about Silent Hill because like I kind of know where we're at in the story like right now. I think we're like getting close to like 70-80% done with the game. Like I think truthfully after this week, I could probably push it out in a week, I think. Next week, if I just commit like 2 days to it, I think we could probably push through Silent Hill. There's just one problem, and like that, like I'm a little scared about. And you're probably like, oh my god, you're always scared of Silent Hill because it's Silent Hill 2, and it's the scariest game you've ever played. True, but so I mentioned, I don't know, I knew vaguely certain things about the story, you know, because it's an old game. But I've tried my hardest for the last like 15 years to avoid as much spoilers as I can because I knew one day I'd want to play it. However, there is one chunk of the story that I know a decent bit about because I have to do my research on games, and it's the Angela portion, and I'm very scared about that because the reason what I might do next week is I don't know if we're gonna hit the Angela portion I don't know if it's the prison or not. That's the thing. I don't know if it's technically in the prison or if it's right after and it's the last section. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's the current one we're on or if it's the last little section. If we get to it this stream, then like, okay. If not, then what I might do next week, if I decide to try to like blast it out in 1 week, potentially, I might do like a slot that's like, we might do Silent Hill here, because I can't promise I can double up, because I'm gonna warn everyone that the Angela section is very fucking heavy, and I'm like kind of scared I'm gonna get triggered the fuck out. I'm like scared that I'm gonna get like triggered and now I'm gonna like fuck the vibes. So I'm a little, that's what I'm nervous about. That's what I'm nervous about. I'm scared about that part of it because I might not be able to double. I might need to take some time and respite if during the Angela section because it's a lot. So that is my warning about Silent Hill, but we are almost finished. So we are almost finished, and once we're done, it's Yakuza 0 time. We're gonna immediately pivot to something that is still fucked up, but like infinitely more lighthearted than the fucking like this points at Silent Hill 2, the saddest shit you ever seen. Yeah, I'm a little nervous that I might get into a moment with the Angela part, but you know what? We're gonna push through because it's peak. I will surpass my limits. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I sense it's starting, when it sense it's starting, yeah, I'm gonna fucking slap the warnings in them titles. uh, it's oh god, it's peak, but at what cost? All right though. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Anything else that I need to say before we swap over. I mean, like D&D as always. This week we're doing that. Yeah, that's basically it for like weekly schedule. I talked about the watch along. Um, yeah, that's about it. That's all I can think of for like personal news and like updates on things. So I think we're good to go to actually start the stream properly of what I've been working on and what I'm actually going to talk about, which is politics today. So, everyone who wants to avoid that, now you can scatter. So give me a moment as I switch over because I have prepared. All right, we got it over. Okay, I got it. Okay, oh my God, okay, it works good. It works good. Okay. Sorry, I just spent so long trying to get everything set up correctly. To Sorry for the immediate fucking vibe shift here. Wait, wait, shit. What? Oh, you did? Okay. Oh my God, wait, this is actually important. Okay. Never, okay, so, um, I figure what I decide how I'm gonna go about doing this is I thought a good way to go about doing the news streams will be I have obviously like a ton of sources to discuss what I want to discuss. This is from a BBC article, as you can tell, but I will start off with like major stories that happen throughout the week, and then after we talk about like major stories, we can then just talk about general things going on. The biggest story that happened for us in America was there was sadly a school shooting that happened. It happened last week in Minneapolis. It was a shooting at a Catholic school. The individual went to the church and walked by the church and shot into it. Yes. I have specifically marked about the situation regarding there's a lot of conflicting discussion regarding the gender of the individual. So I am just going to refer to them with like again, they them or just the individual. Um or just the perpetrator, the shooter. So it was they were young. They were in I believe their early to mid 20s. It was another young individual. It was a white individual as well. Um white and I believe um AMAB as well. So this they currently the if I'm remembering making sure, yes, that is the 23. Yes, 23 is the age. And there's a lot of conflicting information again regarding the gender, which is something I'm specifically going to get into. And that is the individual in question. Yes, I will not show pictures. I will not go down far enough to show pictures because I do not feel comfortable showing images of youngins because not only especially victims, but I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to show images of any minors regardless of victim perpetrator. The individual did kill themselves. I'm like 99% positive they killed themselves. And they did post a manifesto on YouTube. They did also post, they had journals with their information. I cannot, and I use it, I cannot go into what the specifics are in that because Twitch will come down on me like Thor's hammer. On Twitch, you are not allowed to read or go through manifestos, so I cannot do that. However, I can tell specific information that came from it that is just widely available. Uh, the individual similar to the shooting that occurred a couple years back at a like grocery store, they had wrote a lot of their ideological statements on their gun. They wrote um 6 million was not enough, which is a Nazi dog whistle for the Holocaust. They wrote the N word. They wrote things about the LGBT community. They wrote various bigoted, very hateful things on their weapon before they did it. They have photo evidence of all that. A lot of people in the initial instance, and I'm also not going to show that because I don't know if I don't think Twitch would allow me to show that, so I'm not going to show the actual weapon, but if you look it up, you can find pictures. It's very readily available. On the weapon itself, originally, some Republican politicians were spreading images that left out things like 6 million is not enough, things like that, to try to paint, because they also wrote like fuck Donald Trump and stuff like that on their gun. And they tried to make it appear as if this was done out of like a left-wing terror anti-Trump attack. No, the individual very much was not a left individual. This was a very far-right individual. A lot of people don't understand that there are a lot of incredibly far-right groups that hate Donald Trump because they think that he is not right enough. Like, for example, one of the most popular neo-Nazis on the internet right now, Nick Fuentes, is a anti-Donald Trump guy because he doesn't think that Donald Trump harbors enough on the Jewish community. So there are a lot of these far-right groups. Yes, most far-right groups hate the government and hate cops, yes. Most of these extremely far-right groups are not going to be fond of people like Donald Trump. Do not think just because of that, that means that they are a left individual. Again, and not saying that left-wing terrorism does not happen. Left-wing domestic terrorism does, in fact, happen. However, left-wing domestic terrorism typically happens due to the instances of what far left individuals commit terrorism for typically is environmentalism. Environmentalism is typically the main motivator for a lot of far left terrorism, as well as things alongside animal cruelty prevention and things like that. Usually it's a lot of like eco-nationalist groups that do that typically, versus most far-right terrorism typically tends to be neo-Nazi, white supremacist, things of that sort. There have been links potentially to this individual being in what is being dubbed as Terragram groups, which are groups on like Telegram that are based around encouraging mentally ill individuals to commit acts of violence. Because I don't know all the names specifically, but they also on their gun wrote names and like specific phrases that reference individuals from these groups that have committed acts of violence. So a lot of these groups tend to prey on mentally ill people and then try to manipulate them into like martyring, quote unquote, themselves by committing an act of violence. It seems that could have been the case here, and this could have been an individual that got involved in some of those groups, and that was what was able to be twisted there. But it is very much a far-right crime. They are investigating that it is a specific hate crime against Catholics because it was a Catholic school. I do not, I believe they might have had some anti-Christian things on the weapon, like anti-God, but I'm not 100% certain on that. I would not be surprised because, again, there are a lot of far-right groups as well that don't like Christianity. There are some far-right groups that don't like Protestants or Catholics specifically. There are some that don't like Christianity. There are actually some far-right groups in America that are like fully like, and I mean this in the sense that like they're fully like white people from Kentucky, so you would not expect it, that are like hardcore like Islamic jihadist kind of people. There are a lot of like people don't realize how much variety there is in some of these extreme far right groups, that they will not all fit into the traditional like Christian white supremacist brackets that a lot of people want to put them in. Some of these people go so far right that they truly get into like political thought that has never been done before territory. So a lot of people, you got to understand that. A lot of these people also do not have cohesive beliefs. They just have a certain few things that they dislike. That also seems to be the case with this individual. They seem to just have had like a bunch of gripes, no cohesive ideology or cohesive like belief system. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is, if you think about it, no one can commit any more crimes if there's no people left. Yeah, a lot of them, that's the difficult thing with a lot of instances of these cases, because a lot of people don't understand how much variety there is in the ideological spectrum of these individuals, and that some of them are purely lone, individuals. It does not appear, I mean, obviously this individual was a lone shooter, like there was no one else that did the crime, but this individual was definitely a part of a a organized effort to, you know, they had someone motivating them and in their ear and doing all this. That is the real dangerous thing about these online groups that people are getting into on things like Telegram and, you know, message boards and all that kind of stuff, is that it is very easy for them to get locked into these echo chambers, especially as a mentally ill person, because you have to be a certain level. And also there was a lot of like things in their actual journal that like seemed that this clearly was someone who was deeply unwell and unhappy. I had a lot of experience dealing with far right groups who just wanted civilization to collapse. They don't care how. They believe they're strong enough to thrive after the aftermath. Yeah, there are some that are just straight up, destroy it. Because also, like, again, that's another thing too with like left wing, is like not like, and also there's a difference between like a traditional anarchist and those groups. There's so many micro ideologies, Um, but yes, this was a deeply troubled person from what I saw of the journals that they had. And another big issue is there's a lot of speculation. Yes, two children were killed, and I believe it was 13 injured. Yeah, more than a dozen injured. Heartbreaking for the loss of two children and the families. There's no way to get peace for that, but I truly hope that their community can do what they can to support them after, because most of the, I believe the children as well. I'm not going to go down far enough to see, because I don't want to risk seeing their pictures, because I don't want their faces up. Because I believe they have the faces of the victims. I believe they were 14 and under. Well, um, and it was back to school. It was the first week of school, and it was like their back to school sermon that they were attending at their church, because it is at Catholic school, they have churches on campus. Um, a layer to this story of why I wanted to talk about it, because obviously you could talk the traditional aspect of this is why America needs gun control, because a person of this state should not be able to get a hold of the weapons that they had. Like, it's a tragic situation that, like, only happens here. We've all ran the course of that conversation tons and tons of times. The layer to this story that a lot of politicians and people online are using is there's a lot of speculation on the gender identity of the shooter. Because initially there was reports that the individual was a trans woman, and then there are reports that the individual was not, and then there's reports that they could be non-binary. There was a lot of conflicting information. I saw images from their journals where they mentioned specifically detransitioning. So it appears that this is a detransitioner. They mentioned that they believe that, trans is it's a woke ideology trying to destroy people's brains. They did the whole shebang about, oh, I was manipulated, blah blah blah. They did that whole run of the mill trope. So it appears more so that this was an individual that just was unsure of their gender identity, tried something, it didn't work for them, and they detransitioned, but didn't actively identify as a trans individual. The reason I'm keeping it vague still is because they're dead, so we don't, you know, the legal documents that they had still were under their previous name and gender. There's information from their again, like the manifestos that mention them being detransitioned. Seen one post where they said, "I know I'm not a woman, but I don't feel like a man either." Not sure that. Yeah, it seemed this is someone who deeply had a lot of conflict with their gender identity. Their gender identity is not important to the story in that they did not commit the crime in any form of like trying to like make a statement about trans, that was not a core of them. Being potentially trans had no motivator on the motive for doing this crime, but people are trying to use it as saying, see, trans people are mentally ill and trans people are threats to society, which is just objectively not true. Even if this individual we do find is like for sure trans, that's what, one of two trans mass shooters that has happened in the what, 3,000 cis ones, you know. We're not gonna say every white guy is a fucking shooter because of Dylan Ruth, like there's just, like, come on now. We're not. So a lot of politicians are trying to use their conflicting gender, conflicting information on their gender to try to push a narrative right now against trans people with the current, climate of anti-trans legislation they're trying to pass and just anti-trans attitudes. It's really gross because the reality of the situation is this is a disgusting piece of shit who murdered two children, and the emphasis should be on stopping troubled individuals from getting a hold of weapons and stopping the distribution of so many weapons, as well as doing what we can to support the community and the parents of the children that were affected, as well as the current alive children who were affected. Instead of harping out about what pronouns the fucking shooter might have used and how that can be used to justify something against the larger community, the community did not co-sign this. Drop it. It is not. It is very unfortunate that they are using a tragedy as a chance to try to push their agenda against the trans community, who have, again, nothing to do with this situation. But it is unfortunately something that I have to mention because that is, despite how devastating it is, like, despite how devastating it is, the actual loss of life of two children has become the least important part of the story due to how people are focusing purely just on trying to use this to go like trans people bad, which is so gross and just ridiculous. They're not harming anyone. I don't know why they're so willing to hurt others over so little. Because they want any reason to try. They're grasping for any straw to justify their innate disgust for trans people. That's all it is. How the heck did they get the weapons? I heard they were legally acquired, but that's like $1,500 worth of gear at least. That's a lot for the shooter was 23 years old. The shooter was 23. They were college age. But yes, they had some impressive gear. They had some impressive gear. It was still a lot for this economy. It was still a lot. The missing point, two kids passed away. Yeah, exactly. And again, nobody is profiling cishet people as shooters because 99.9% of shootings are committed by cishet people, you know. It's just it's an unfortunate thing because as something I have discussed, and I discussed it a lot in my political psychology classes, and a lot, the easiest way to shape a person's the two things that are the biggest effects of someone's opinion, the two emotions, are fear and disgust. Those are the two emotions that shape everyone's opinions the most. They are also the easiest to manipulate. One of the things we discussed a lot in regards to specifically, because you wonder, like, okay, why are they turning this, like, horrific tragedy and just, like, trying to be like, ooh, bad trans people, you know, like, what the fuck does that matter? You know, focus on the actual loss of life here. Because the thing is, the reason why they harbor so much on like the trans community, for example, currently in, you know, 10 years ago it was the gay community. It flip-flops. They pick a new target every 10 years when one of them becomes a little too socially acceptable to dunk on as much. It's because I truly, from what I have studied, it seems that the average person just goes, okay, like the run of the mill Logan, the run of the mill straight cishet guy from Kentucky who works a blue collar job. He thinks about the thought of kissing his bro, and that makes him uncomfortable because he's a straight guy. And he's like, I don't like that. I don't like the thought of kissing my homie. Now, the normal person would just be like, okay, I'm straight, sick, you know, or thinking of being the opposite gender, you know, being a different gender, just like, oh, not my thing, doesn't appeal to me, you know, I don't like the thought, makes me kind of uncomfortable. Okay, sure, you know, but because you know they feel that small amount of, you know, because they're like, oh, I don't want to kiss a guy because I like women, you know, instead of just taking that as okay, then I'm straight, whatever, move on. They think, well, I felt a feeling of disgust, which means that this must be bad. And therefore, I have a moral duty to oppose it. That is what a lot of like homophobia, transphobia, stuff like that boils down to. Just the thought they have of them doing that either just makes them kind of uncomfy in like a classic like straight guy who gets kind of uncomfy thinking about his homie, you know, way, or just or in some instances maybe they kind of like it and then they feel disgust at themselves for kind of liking the thought because you know that is unfortunately repression is the thing, but a lot of people can't just understand that they might find the idea of something like quote unquote a bit icky and just move on. They have to think, okay, that must mean X thing is bad, and there is a moral reasoning for me to oppose it, and I have to oppose it. You even see that on like a lighter scale of like an example that you guys might understand more that's like again a lighter thing is like you watch an anime, you don't like the main couple. You think the main couple, you just don't like it. They're kind of cringe. You could just be like, yeah, I just don't like the main ship. It's not great. But no, there's people who will be like, I don't like it, so I have to come up with a moral reasoning to dislike it. So I'm gonna say, actually, they're sibling coded and it's incest coded to support the ship. It's things like that. They can't just realize it's not their thing and move on. if they feel any sort of negative feeling, they take it as it is a bad thing. And if I'm a good person, I oppose bad things. That's why a lot of those people tend to also be very self-righteous. That's why so many religious figures who preach the loudest against gays get busted on a grinder or whatever. Exactly. No, there's a lot of instances of, again, it's discussed either just because, again, maybe, you're just a run-of-the-mill straight guy who just doesn't like the thought. And again, like, no one's forcing you to like the thought. But then again, sometimes you do like the thought. And then they get disgusted at themselves because, a lot of people are too scared to, ooh, boo, bisexuality, like, so that's what a lot of the average person, homophobia, transphobia, stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. Are the politicians who are doing this like crazy anti-trans shit? Yeah, they're doing it for like dead ass demonic level, like evil, comically evil hatred that they have formed in their brain. The average American that is homophobic is just homophobic in the like I'm a guy and I think it's weird two dudes kiss. Like that's the average American homophobe. The average American homophobe doesn't actually give a fuck about like we gotta overturn gay. They don't give a fuck about that. Like, which is like comforting. That's one thing I always want to tell people is like as horrific as the current state of politics is towards LGBT rights and using instances like this tragedy to try to further this agenda of restricting LGBT rights, the average American does not give a fuck. And the average American, even the average homophobic American, does not give a shit and does not really give a fuck about gay marriage being over. They don't care. They're like, who cares? Lower my taxes. So you have that at least that like, you know, thankfully they're just ignorant, truthfully. They're just ignorant. But you have unfortunate instances of TV man manipulating something as devastating as, this crime that occurred. And that is what gets, basically beamed into fucking Jerry from Pennsylvania. And that is what could potentially help sway him to having more ignorant beliefs. Which is why I wanted to specifically talk about this and mention again the gender issue regarding this because some people are trying to just avoid that aspect altogether as like their way of minimizing, but no, you have to mention it because they are going to run with this as a sort of like anti-trans topic and it's not possible. And I think it's also their way of trying to keep gun control from coming up at all because if they can put all the focus on trying to pin this on trans people, then everyone has to put their focus on, defending the trans community. We don't have the time to also push the gun control. So that is also another reason why they're doing it is because it's easier to split when you do it like that. So that is another reason for it. But that is what I wanted to discuss with the issue, the situation in Minneapolis. I don't want to go too in. I would go more in depth with it, but just as like since I study domestic terrorism, I have the desire to get into more, but I will wait for more information to fully kind of get into maybe if we can find out more information about specific groups and things like that, then doing a second half broadcast of discussing these groups and things of that sort, I would love to do. But since Twitch is very, very like if I show anything related to the manifesto, I will get immediately banned. So I have to be very careful. But there was no way I could not talk about what happened because it was a tragedy. And I would love to now as well, in case any of you see anything related to this and you see anything about the shooter, you'll have a bit more knowledge on it and also hopefully helping recentering the conversation a little bit to just taking care of the victims who again were two small children. not adults, but two small children. And it's I understand. I it very much is devastating, and I can't imagine obviously directly what the community is going through, but knowing that you the loss of two children of all things, because children is just like, the children aren't supposed to die. And having the nation focus not on the loss of life is devastating, and instead focusing on something else. And I lived in Texas when Uvalde happened, and that was devastating. And it was devastating how the focus was taken away from the loss of life, and the focus was put on, I mean, the incompetency of the police obviously definitely was what needed to be discussed, but it became discussed to the point where I think a lot of people ended up forgetting the actual, like, impacted loss of life that was, elementary school students. So I really hope that in the coming days, as more comes out about this case, there's a bit more of a shift to the community and what the community can do for themselves to protect themselves and hopefully try to rebuild after something as heartbreaking as that. But it was a very big change of pace, but I felt that, the shooting was the big story that happened last week, so I figured I would sort of cover it first, get it out, because I didn't want to. I felt if we got into, because the next story is funny, and so I felt it would be disrespectful to go from a funny story to something like this. So I wanted to go ahead and cover that first, but this was definitely our heaviest topic. So we will be transitioning into one that is funnier, in that there was a lot of speculation last week about if Big Donnie died. There was a lot of speculation last week about if Big Boy Donnie died. If if you were on Twitter that night, if you were on Twitter, you were probably refreshing your feed nonstop like I was, because not only were the tweets very funny, but like you couldn't miss it, you know? So, first, you were at work. Oh my god, dude, imagine leaving work and then Donnie dies. Okay, so first, what I want to get into is I want to get into why people think Donnie died. Because unfortunately, it seems he is alive, allegedly. It's still kind of sus, but But why did people think Donnie died? What was this? What made it? So the big thing is the bruise. Like, don't tease. The bruise gate was the start of the speculation, because Donnie showed up looking Prince Andrew style decomposition, like he was decomposing as we saw him, actively. And he then showed up, like, after people pointed out that, like, oh my god, like that's really bad, like Jesus. He showed up with like concealer on his hand, but it was really bad. They did not skin tone match him whatsoever, and they put no effort into it. So it honestly made it stand up more, because people who didn't even know that his hands were all fucked up saw it and were like, "Hey yo, why he got makeup on?" And then looked it up and then saw the picture. So it kind of like Streisand affected it in a way. But he was seen looking pretty bad. And yeah, over the weekend, and this was posted 25th. Over the weekend at the time, he was seen with the thick layer of makeup on his hand. And the White House initially blamed the bruising on handshaking, echoing Trump, who gave Time the same reason for the apparent injury during an interview in December, where he had the same kind of injury. It's from shaking hands with thousands of people. So this isn't the first time that he had this isn't the first time that he had bruises. He had them again last like December. He said it was because he shook so many hands that like it bruised him, and that's what he said this time too. He said that he was the North Korea-esque explanation. Also, Ruby, that's such a cute emo. Yes, they were saying that he was handshaking so much, like so they were just squeezing the shit out of him that he bruised his big beautiful hands. His big beautiful hands from shaking the hands of his big beautiful supporters so much. And yes, this picture was taken during the meeting with the South Korea oh my God, I can't speak. The South Korean president Lee Jae-myung. So he was meeting with a world leader and they were like, "Damn, yo shit fucked." But he was seen with all these bruises. People were making the Prince Andrew jokes that, like, dear leader is so dedicated to his people, he injured his own hand greeting his beloved followers. Exactly. See what he does for us, guys? He's willing to injure himself to shake our peasant hands. Like, thank you, God King. Like, it's so. Uh, Yeah, he claimed that he shook too many big beautiful hands and it hurt him. He got an owie. People were making Prince Andrew comparisons. People were joking because Prince Andrew looked like he was literally decomposing for like a hot minute there. But what made it worse was, of course, the dumbest little fucking minion that Donnie has gave a statement that made everyone go, holy shit, he's going to die. Because JD Vance came out and did a statement where he said, if God forbid a terrible tragedy happens, he couldn't think of better on the job training than his time in office to take over. JD JD Vance came out and said that that if God forbid a terrible tragedy happens to Donald Trump, he's ready to take over the presidency. Brother, what? Everyone saw that this dropped Friday. As soon as we saw this, everyone was like, "Okay, he's going to die." Everyone saw this and went, "He's going to kill him like he killed the Pope." JD Vance is going for double. He's going for double. He said the Pope wasn't enough. The Pope wasn't enough. I'm coming for Donnie. Yeah, this was the most. It's giving Heathers. This was the most insane statement the vice president could have given that, like, oh, how's the president doing? He had some bruises on him. If he dies, I'm ready. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that at all. As it's just being the queen and her dying on a week later. Literally, like JD Vance saying that is what made everyone go, okay, Donnie might have actually died. Like that would if it wasn't like people saw the bruises and yeah, people were joking and manifesting like, oh my God, yeah, like maybe he's dying or something. But him saying this is what sealed the deal for a lot of people, and everyone was like, okay, so either he is actively dead right now, or he is in very bad condition, and they're hiding it, just like they were hiding Joe Biden's like dementia. Like they're just hiding it because they don't want the public to know. But like clearly he knows something because JD Vance is really bad at keeping his fucking mouth shut. He is really bad at it. Yeah, his tweet style. His tweet style did change too. It does sound like someone else is writing Donnie's tweets. It does sound different. Some people, like, initially we thought it was just because he got insecure about Gavin Newsom and Mr. Gruesome Newsom making fun of his tweets. But now it's like, what if he died? What if they're gonna Weekend at Bernie's him, you know? Like, you expect me to believe Donald J. Trump knows what an M dash is? Literally, like, what if, like, people were talking about. So what happened is then also it came out that someone got a hold of, his schedule, and he hadn't been seen for the entire weekend, and his entire weekend there was no schedules for him. So people were like, "Holy shit, he died. Oh my God, he's dead actively, like right now." And then the White House did come out and they were like, "Oh, he's actually playing golf." And then there was like some pictures of him playing golf allegedly. And everyone was making memes about like JD Vance going to the golf course and like Weekend at burning his corpse around, being like, "Hey guys, it's me, Donald J. Trump." Like I saw someone tweet like when Woody like pretends to like Buzz Lightyear is like there and conscious and being like, "Oh, don't worry, everyone." Like that's what people like JD Vance is gonna do from around the corner. Um, there have been really sus things. There have been really sus things. Like for example, I believe Aya is her name. His granddaughter posted like a photo of him of like them at the golf course being like, "Love you, Grandpa. Like you're doing so great." And then the picture was actually from like 2 years ago, and she just posted an old picture and was like, your health's so great. I don't know why they're saying otherwise," which is so sus. It's so sus. Like they're like all the like MAGA like hardcore influencers are posting old photos of him, trying to be like, "Oh yeah, this was him actually like a week ago," and it's actually from like 2 years ago. And in fact, I have some because I found this very funny. I thought this tweet was very funny. Trump cited not talking in all-time first, and this is there's a bandage on the left hand. They're catching photos of him like he's a cryptid and not the 47th president of the United States. They really are. I literally wrote that like they are taking photos of him like he's Bigfoot. Like straight up. He's got the old man like the T-Rex arms that like really really old people do when they're like not doing good. I feel like old people when they're not doing good, they like revert to beetle form and like have their arms like that and they hunch a bit. Like he's doing that. That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign when old people start walking like that. No, it's okay. I do it too, but like I'm also not the greatest standard of health. I'm also not the greatest standard of health here. But beetle, that's the only thing I can think of because like beetles, their arms are like they're like triangular. But yeah, they're taking photos of him like that, and they're posting old pics of him as if he's like running around super. No, he does not. He's not looking good. He's not looking good. To be fair, okay, so here's the speculation people are having. I don't. Here's the thing. I don't know if he's going to actually die because I unfortunately am a realist in the fact that like evil people never die when they should. Like evil people somehow manage to fucking scrape by. I don't know how they do it. Like look at Big Thatcher, look at the Queen, look at Donnie. Like all of these people manage to somehow make it to like literal like ancient. Like they somehow should, but they just don't die. And then like all the good people die. He's dead, but whenever he's seriously, seriously diminished after a stroke, that's what I'm thinking. I think he's really fucked up. I think he either had like a stroke, an aneurysm. He might just be like I think also just mentally he's not there. Here's the thing. I fully think that he either, unless he had like a stroke or something, I think he also might be getting like dementia because he's not good. Listen, I've watched so many Donnie interviews and so many Donnie debates that like I know how Donnie talks. I know how he talks. I know how he thinks. He doesn't talk like he used to. He talks like he gets very scatterbrained very easily. He's nowhere near as charismatic as he used to be. Like he used to be like quipping jokes and one-liners and like all these kind of he doesn't do that anymore because he can't. Like and by the time he thinks of one, it's like mid as fuck or like it doesn't bang. Like he doesn't have like this the his mental facilities just aren't as quick as they were in like especially the first election, but even the Joe Biden election. He thought of Meatball Ron, which I still use. Yeah, he was doing bangers, bro. Like that's the thing about Donald Trump. Listen, he's a demon, but he's funny, like objectively. That's why Americans like him. He hasn't had any like super good one-liners. He hasn't had any like really good like interview moments. He hasn't done a lot of speaking in general. Ever since he got ever since he became the president basically, like once the election was over, he hasn't done anywhere near as many speaking engagements as he used to because the thing also is that Donnie's big thing is so for those who don't know the term specifically, so the a lot of people, you see like the president talking to the press, that's them speaking to the bully pulpit. The bully pulpit is the term for the president speaking to America. They're speaking to the public. A big thing is that back in the day, presidents used to very rarely talk to the bully pulpit. Like you would get like you would get their State of the Union address like once a year. And then if they went to any big conferences, you would see them give a speech there. And then they would give a speech for like, 9/11. Sorry. Oh God. They would give like speeches for like 9/11 memorial, stuff like that. But outside of that, the presidents didn't really give that many speaking engagements. The presidents if they did like they you could probably count on two hands the amount of speaking engagements a president would do every year. The thing about Donnie, thank you, Stacey, is that Donnie abused the fuck out of the bully pulpit. His first presidency, that's why the whole thing with Donald Trump is that you never not saw him on TV yapping because bro is a yapper. He was nonstop meeting with the press to talk, and that's why he is such a. I think truly if Donnie didn't talk as much as he did, he would not only, for one, not be as popular because a lot of his supporters, that's why they have like this parasocial connection with him because, like, unironically, they see him as like a Twitch streamer basically. But two, the flip side, why a lot of people really hate him is because you saw this motherfucker nonstop. He was yapping nonstop. Like, there was not a day, especially during COVID, there was not like a day that you didn't see this man on TV yapping. Like he was everywhere. And so people just got sick of his ass real quick, as opposed to someone like, you know, a lot of like people don't remember some of the other presidents as being as bad as they were because he didn't see them as often. Like a lot of people still think Obama's a great guy. Obama's a horrible person. Obama's literally a war criminal. But people, because the only time you saw Obama was when he gave his like 10 little speeches and he gave them good and that was it. And he just stayed away. You didn't have to think about Obama. That's why a lot of people talk so like highly of that era. I mean, obviously, like Obama was definitely like infinitely fucking better. I'm not trying to say what, but like Obama wasn't. A lot of people treat Obama like he was an amazing person and like great individual. Yes, he was. He was also Obama was the president that he was the one that signed it to allow you to be able to even drone strike president. That wasn't even allowed until he signed it. because Obama kept away, you didn't have to see him ever. And so like Americans got to just like pretend like la 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 politics, I don't think about it, la la la, you know. Oh, he's definitely no, Obama is an infinitely better president. Obama was better than Bush. Obama was better than Clinton. Obama was a better president. I'm just saying like people talk about Obama like he was a good person and like he was a peaceful dove because he minded his business. But because Obama wasn't a fucking yapper, a lot of people don't know about the horrible shit he did because he stayed the fuck home and kept to himself. Like, Obama never fucking yapped about his war crimes. Like, Donnie literally does airstrikes and then goes, like, on TV to brag about it. Obama, absolutely not. He would never talk about that shit, you know? Yeah, he also had really good marketing, but the thing is like, that's why also, too, people, like, that's why, like, for example, even thinking about like the fact that Bill Clinton, like the thing that people think about with Bill Clinton is obviously the fact that he, fucked Monica Lewinsky, but like it's because back then presidents are supposed to be removed. Presidents are supposed to be we're not supposed to see them really. You see them rarely. You're not supposed to think about them as the American, you know. So when like they do something where they're in the news and you see them, you're like, "Oh my God, like what the heck?" you know. But because Donnie was just nonstop on the news, like yapping, people who liked him got really parasocial about him because they felt like, yeah, he wants to speak to us, you know? And then the people who don't like him were like, I'm sick of his ass. Get rid of, I don't want to see him anymore. I don't want to listen to him anymore, you know? And I think that's part of truly what makes him so polarizing because if Donnie had the same exact policy as he does, he just didn't yap nonstop, I think Donnie would be a significantly more liked president than he is. Because I think a lot of Americans, there are unfortunately a lot of Americans that truthfully don't really actually have many problems with his policy as evil as it is. They just think he's annoying, which is a really depressing thought, but like unfortunately that is true that there are a lot of Americans who are like, if he wasn't a jackass, I would actually kind of like his policy. I actually think that if he was a normal like run of the mill suit wearing like kind of nerd ass Republican dude, I think for one, if Donnie if Donnie had the personality of like a Bush, or like if Donnie had the personality of like Reagan or something, the Democrats would love him. The Democrats 100% would cope for this fucking dude. But because he's, a belligerent asshole, like they don't like him because Democrats ultimately care about respectability politics more than anything. Yeah, Reagan won, I believe, 49 states. I think Reagan won. Reagan had the biggest like land, like obviously Obama and Biden and Trump had the biggest voter turnout, but because the population is significantly more than it was during the Reagan era. But Reagan had the greatest, like he almost got every state, I believe. Yeah, he won everything. And then proceeded to ruin the country in ways that we truly could not have predicted. But speaking of election, I get into electoralism now. So I wanted to talk about, this is less of a specific story and more of just I want to talk about electoralism because I love talking about electoralism. It's fun for me. And I think it's important because we're getting to the point where we're soon, especially with the reason I want to talk about it now, with the rapid declining clearly of Donnie's health, it's going to be very important for my Americans here to pay attention. And also, it will be important for my non-Americans because ultimately our president does affect y'all. Sorry, whoops, like, sorry about that. Like, our bad. the race for who's gonna be the guy is gonna be starting. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through like major what I think are going to be like some of the major issues for the election, what I think are who I think are going to be major players, and I made a list and I think it will be fun to over like the months actually like actively edit it and see kind of when it gets to the time eventually for actual elections to like actual campaigns to start, keeping track of like maybe who we were right on, who came out of nowhere, things of that sort. And I do want to specifically talk about two not presidential races, but two one mayoral race and then one I believe it's Senate race that I think are good in that for one, it is shining light on some leftist individuals that I think are going to be really interesting to, and I think people should keep an eye on, but also I think they both have very fucking good campaigns so far. And I think they're two people that I want to look at as like, this is what the Democratic Party needs to do if they want to win. So, first, I want to talk about the issues that I think are going to be the major issue. And there's one issue that I think it's you're a fool not to. The major issue of the next election in my from what I everything I've seen is going to be Gaza. Gaza is going to be the main issue. And the candidate's stance on Gaza and Israel is going to determine if the public will vote for them or not. Because I truly, truly think that Kamala Harris being a pussy ass bitch and not saying and caping for Israel is what cost her the election. I think Kamala actually had potential despite how cringe she was because people hated Donald Trump that fucking bad. But her pussy ass stance on caping for Israel, I think is the number one thing that cost her the election because it is the number one thing that cost her the youth vote. And polling has come out that Americans don't fucking like Israel. We have gotten polling here from Quinnipiac, and this is a poll of registered voters who asked the first question is, do you support or oppose the United States sending military aid to Israel for their efforts to fight the war with Hamas, which Hamas is the organization that is doing most of the military effort from the Gaza side in terms of like organizations. Of registered voters, 56% of Republicans say they support ending they su- or blah 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 blah. Of Republicans, 56% said that they support sending military aid. Only 18% of registered Democratic voters said they support sending aid to Israel. Only 18%. And then down here, in thinking about what you know about the situation in Gaza, do you think Israel is committing a genocide or not? 20% of Republican voters say yes, Israel is committing a genocide. 77% of Democratic voters say that Israel is committing a genocide. That is, for one, on average, about 50% in total of the fucking vote. That is 3/4 of Democratic voters say that Israel is committing a genocide. When you look at the average stance of the average Democratic politician, they are all hardcore Israel defenders. Barely any Democrats have actually come out and said that it is a genocide. And they have all been like, listen, and here's the thing. He's about to get some lashings from me. Even individuals like Bernie Sanders have not been as fucking hardcore as they should be. like Bernie Sanders has said that yes, that they are committing a genocide, and Bernie Sanders has advocated for stopping the aid and for the military aid and for getting aid into Gaza. Yes, but Bernie Sanders has not been as intense about it as he should. I will give my goat his lashings on that. He needs to be way more fucking on that. He has not been. He has been too lax, too flip-floppy, too quiet on Israel Gaza specifically. That is Bernie's main like flaw in his issues. But I think people know enough about it or care about foreign affairs. No, here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. Israel Gaza polled as one of the most important topics in the last election for the American Democratic voter. So it actually is. It actually is. Because also Ultra, you gotta understand the in your country it's different. In America, the issue of Israel and Palestine is way more important than any other country besides obviously, Israel and Palestine, and then countries like Yemen or Lebanon that are right there. Because for one, Israel would not be able to do any of the military that they are doing without us because America is their number one funder for all of their military action. America is also just their number one funder in general. Like, for example, Israeli citizens actually have free universal health care because Americans pay for it. We don't actually have universal health care ourselves because that's communism, but we pay for Israelis to have universal health care. America is Israel quite literally would not, if we cut off the weapons right now, the war would end. Because Israel does not have the manpower and the weapons to continue what they are doing. Quite literally, the United States is the only reason that the genocide is still occurring. If we cut off the weapons, it would be over right now. Also, all of the they do not have the means to fight an offensive war at all, not even for one day. They don't. They ran out, I think, within the first month of their actual stock, and everything else we have been completely funding. So even that's why if you see here, even like, only like almost half of Republicans don't want to give more money to Israel. And that's not even because of like, the whole like religion, anti-Semitism claims that people have and shit like that. No, it's literally just because a lot of Republicans don't want to support it because it's our tax dollars. Because we are sending billions of our tax dollars to Israel that could be going back into our own country and our own, benefits. My mom was talking to me during the beginning of this topic. I actually wanted to hear this. No, it's okay. I didn't get into it, but just basically, despite what this is going to be the main issue. Care about the internal cost of living crisis in foreign. That's mostly what I got though. See, here's the thing. In America, it's because the fact that we are spending so much of our money, like Americans are dirt fucking poor right now in terms of like obviously not necessarily on a global standard, but by American standards, Americans financially, we are about to hit like the bubble's about to burst. The recession is coming and it is going to be potentially 2008 level devastating. And for those who aren't American, 2008 was when the housing bubble broke, and there are families today that are still devastated from that fucking recession financially. Um the whole thing is because since Americans are struggling so much right now. Quite literally anything counts. And seeing Americans seeing that we can't afford housing and seeing billions of our tax dollars going to a foreign war is pissing off even the most like even individuals who originally supported Israel and like you mentioned Crusader, the right to defend themselves as they say, are like, okay, at this point enough is enough, you know? Because we're not even funding Ukraine to that level, you know? Think about that. we never funded Ukraine to the same level as we're funding Israel. And it's also, there's the level too of how heinous it is, because the reason too is that Ultra is that America in particular has a very complicated relationship with Israel just as a project, because that's what it is. Israel is a American project at this point. It is our oasis in the Middle East that we have, basically, is what we have turned it into. Um, Part of it is also just due to how disgusting um the client, because I think a lot of people, since they don't understand the financial aspect and how tied our government is to Israel's, like, for example, okay, to give context, Benjamin Netanyahu is from goddamn Pennsylvania, Ultra, okay? The current prime minister of Israel is an American. He lived in, like, Pennsylvania. Yes. I don't know how to spell this fucker's name. Fuck, how do I spell his name? He is born in Israel, but he lived in, like, fucking Pennsylvania. Yeah. Born in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu was raised in West Jerusalem in the United States. Yeah. He literally lived in the United States. Like, that's another thing that a lot of people don't fucking realize is, yeah. His family migrated to Minneapolis. Yeah, he studied in London. He went to law school in London, like, or his parent did, it seems. Yeah. His family lived in the United States in Pennsylvania, a suburb, while his father taught at Dropsy College. He attended Cheltenham High School and was active in the debate club, chess club, and soccer. Mm-hmm. After graduating high school, he went to Israel, went back, and got back into the IDF. Oh, okay. I can get into that. So I know all about that. So basically, so yeah, the thing too is also a lot of people don't realize a lot of Israel. Okay, do you want to know something also really crazy? That's probably gonna make you lose your mind, Ultra. There are more Jews in New York than there are in Israel. That's another thing that a lot of people don't know. Um, so here's the thing. Actually, technically, for one, Ultra, it's three religions. It's not just two. All three Abrahamic religions share a history with Jerusalem. Um, However, it was Palestine first. Yes, Christianity. So I'll get into the evangelical thing. So here's an interesting thing. A lot of people, so Zionists, for those who don't know, Zionists are people who believe that, pro-Israel, the Jewish people there have a right to basically just, genocide the Muslims because, like, they're superior, blah, blah, blah. The biggest Zionists are evangelical Christians because the Jewish population, especially in America, supports Palestine more than they support Israel. The biggest supporters of Israel and of the Israeli state are evangelical Christian Americans. That's another reason why no, don't don't you don't want to say old, yeah, no. Christians don't like that. Christians literally murdered Jews back in the day. Yeah, they don't like that. They don't like being compared, even though Jesus was a Jew, they basically ignore, like, all of Judaism. They ignore all of it, basically. Yeah, they don't, they probably, if you said the word Torah to them, they probably don't even know what it is. Evangelical Christians, not Catholics, but specifically evangelicals, which are Protestants, they're essentially the non everyone that's not, well, okay. Not Catholics are like your Protestants and all those people, and then evangelicals are a specific branch that came out of America, that those are your Those are your TV preacher who you see flying around from fucking bungee cords on the ceiling. Like those videos you see of like crazy like Christian pastors in America that you're like, holy shit, that's nuts. Those are evangelicals. They are the like speaking in tongues, I'm gonna punch Jesus into you. Like they're the really weird ones. They're the weird ones. They're also the really hardcore political ones that are like, we need to overturn gay marriage and like institute like our version of Christian Sharia law, basically. Like they are hardcore. So the reason that evangelicals are so hardcore about Israel is because evangelicals are all Protestants and some variation. There's no Catholic evangelicals. They don't exist. Catholics, they think we're gonna fucking die and go to hell, probably. But the evangelicals, most of them, believe in what is called the rapture. And they believe that the rapture will start in Israel. That's where they think the rapture will begin. So they think when Armageddon happens and it's time to get sucked up into the sky by God, Israel is where they need to go to be first in line to get sucked up into the sky. That is why American Christians are so hardcore about Israel, because they want to have access to go there for when it's time to get sucked up into the sky. And the reality is that it is easier for them to align themselves with the Jewish people in Israel than it is to align themselves with the Muslims in Israel, because most of them are also incredibly fucking racist and Islamophobic. You know? They don't want anything to do with the Muslims, which is why they align them. They don't actually give a fuck about Jewish people. They're only aligned with them because they think that they are better than the Muslims. That is the reason why. That is the reason why the biggest supporters of Israel in America are literally evangelical Christians. They are not Jewish people. Um, and to give context too, also of like how intense the propaganda is of like literally like a lot of people that live in Israel are just straight up Americans who, it's so gross, what they literally do is like it's birthright, where they, oh, you have the birthright of Israel because you're a Jewish person. And they will just straight up go there and they will just take a Palestinian person's house and be like, I have birthright actually, and this is mine now. Yeah, they move from Brooklyn and then they just go to and steal a random Palestinian person's house and are like, this is mine now. And then the Israeli government is like, yep, it's theirs. So that's why actually a lot of like individuals from like Israel aren't like none of them are actually, barely any of them are from the area. Like a lot of them are dead ass from places like Brooklyn, like straight up. There are like actually as well, like in the Jewish community in America, like birthright in general is such a crazy thing where like parents will send their children on like vacations to Israel, where then they basically try to like hardcore propaganda them to like love the country and shit. Like there's a lot. Like a lot of people don't realize is like, yes, America does have. Yep, and my husband is even religious, but his parents try to convince him to take his birthright trip. Yep, there's a lot of Jewish Americans that have taken the trip just to like get a free trip because they're like, I'm not even religious like that, but sure, I'll take a free trip. And then they went to Israel and then they saw what it was like and they were horrified, you know. And that actually ended up radicalizing them, which was pretty interesting. But no, like a lot of people don't realize is that Israel and America are so interwoven. Like in a lot of other countries, especially in places like Europe and Canada and things like that, you can just kind of break it off as like it's a foreign affair thing and it is devastating, which like I still think regardless, stopping genocide. I 100% hold the opinion that if Palestinians were white, it would not have gone on as long as it has. Because you don't see people being like, I can't care about Hitler, dog, because like I'm too worried about the financial crisis. You know, you would get in, people would lose their shit if you said that, you know. But because they're brown people and they're Muslim, you know, people don't really, you know, it's just some foreign affair thing, you know, like because another thing too, a lot of people don't realize that let me see if I can find it real quick. Uh Gaza. NPR from October 19th, 2023. Uh Half of the population in Gaza at the time were minors. Half of the population in Gaza were children. Like a lot, they're literally children. That is another layer of why the claims that like we're fighting these war-horned criminals are so ridiculous because most of them are teenagers. Straight up. Most of them are teenagers who are fighting because their parents got murdered, you know. It's kind of crazy that there is a genocide of a population where half of them are literally children. And yeah, it's kind of just brushed off more when, again, people wouldn't really do the same about Germany, you know? Like, well, Americans did, but like, you can't say that opinion now, you know? It's unfortunately, they were white probably have ended in the 80s or 90s, like the Troubles in Ireland, yeah. It's unfortunately the thing of they're not a desirable group of people. And what's gonna happen is, as depressing as it is to say, I don't think it's going to end until it's over, if you get what I mean. And a few years after it happens, there's gonna be a lot of people acting as if they were on the right side of history. Just like how Americans love to talk about how we fought in World War II when America did not give a shit about what Hitler was doing until Pearl Harbor. I mean, will it truly ever be? It's going to be over when they're dead. It's going to be over when every single Palestinian is dead. Yeah, then it'll be over. Israel will just move on to Lebanon or Yemen. You know, Israel's not going to stop. They're going to keep trying to expand. But yeah, exactly. It was Japan. Japan was the one who did Pearl Harbor, and we were like, "What the fuck, bro?" And then you know, there was no way that we could like fight Japan without like also saying we were gonna fight Germany because like that was like a little, you know, like if we were like, "Yeah, we only want to fight the Japanese people," and then guess what we did? What did we do? We were like, "Guess what, baby? Concentration camps for the Japanese." Like, you know? Like we immediately were like, all right, anyways, crank that, you know. Because also not fun fact, Hitler got direct inspiration for the Holocaust from America. A lot of people don't know that. Hitler actually used our treatment of the Native American people and our treatment of Black people in the Jim Crow South as a lot of his initial inspiration for what he did in the Holocaust. Like, America was the blueprint in a lot of really, really bad ways that a lot of Americans really don't like to admit. Yes. Well, oh man, they have to wear a symbol that shows everyone that they're different and they can't use certain facilities because they're different and segregated. Bro, America was literally racially segregating the Irish. like, like America was racially segregating the Irish because we didn't think they were white enough to be considered like Americans. Do you know how crazy that is to look at the Irish and say that they're not white enough? Let alone imagine what we did to black people, okay, and Native American people. Gandhi wrote a letter to the mustache man that just glazed the hell of him. Oh yeah, Gandhi was a piece of shit. Yeah. No, straight up, like the gym Irish are whiter than Americans. What the fuck? Ben Franklin considered Germans to not be white. Ben Franklin literally wrote about how Germans were a swarthy race and they were that's why listen, ultra. That's why I always whiteness is quite like it sounds like such a like cringe lord woke opinion, yeah, but like whiteness is unironically a social construct and everyone has the chance to be white except for black people. That's why currently they're like in the last 20 years there's been a push for Latino people to be considered white and now you can be considered a white Latino. You couldn't do that back then. The Irish, when the Irish first came, literally, yeah, we would have signs in our store in like the stores that would be like no Irish allowed and like Irish that's why like the Irish gangs are so like seen as so like cool, quote unquote, in America because that's what they had because the Irish weren't able to work normal jobs and shit because we didn't think that they were like white people and we didn't like that. I know you came in at an interesting time. Um, and that's why in America there's like the concept of the one drop rule, which means if there's any drop of non-white in you, you're not considered white anymore. I'm talking where we were talking about Palestine and how um if you know they were not Middle Eastern and if they were not Muslims and brown people, people would care a lot more. And then pointing to how you know, the actions of like how people nowadays, you know, obviously like Germany, nobody is gonna say that like Germans they should like obviously yeah, what they did was horrific, but people in a few years are gonna now look back on Gaza and be like, oh, we should have said something but didn't. And how Hitler actually, a lot of people don't know, he got direct inspiration for the Holocaust due to seeing America's treatment of the Native Americans as well as the black people due to the Jim Crow South. One of the first respectable jobs an Irish person could get was a police officer, thus having Irish cops stereotype this day over here. Yep. And also again another not fun fact, police officers originally were the slave patrol. They were the slave catchers. That's a reason why Americans like there's the a lot of people in other countries might not understand because they don't have the same racial history as America. When Americans say that police as an institution is racist, they think that sounds kind of silly. It's because quite literally the police force in America was originally made to catch runaway slaves. That is what it started as. And then obviously slavery got abolitioned and you know, they were used to still keep them in check. Oh, I don't think this is what I want to hear first thing in the morning. So I'm gonna go back. Yeah, you came into my like my first political sheet. But yeah. Bye my dog. I appreciate it, but you came into a really interesting time to come into my stream for the first time. Many of the departments in older cities in America are directly the same organizations that evolved from the slave catchers. Yeah, exactly. Because that's another thing is like a lot of people I there is so much whitewashing to slavery in America and our treatment of just black people in general in America that is really hard for even like I think the average Canadian to understand, you know, like a lot of because like obviously like Canada has their own, you know, bad treatment of the natives and shit like that. But like I think
that money.
I appreciate it. I told you the set voice line. Oh, thank you, sorry. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, I a lot of people I think don't really understand that Americans, like, because I think a lot of people who are from other countries who see a lot of Americans discussing things like racism, it might seem like over the top to them because to them, racism is more of just a guy being a douchebag. And also, I think a lot of racism in places like Europe, for example, I think racism in Europe is way more of a problem against like Middle Eastern individuals than it is towards like a black Londoner as opposed to like an immigrant from, the Middle East or a Roman. Yeah, God forbid you're Romani in Europe, versus like in America, like it is cooked into like I think a lot of people don't realize truly like how we unironically like revolutionized racism here. For an example I can think of is like when the Little Mermaid remake came out and a lot of people shit their pants over the fact that there was a black woman playing Ariel. Something that was so just at the fucking party for her celebrating the movie making like $1 billion or something. Her grandpa was there and he talked about how his parents like like literally like her family was directly like 2 or 3 generations prior literally slaves, and now she was in the most highest grossing movie of all time. I think a lot of people don't understand that that shit was not that long ago. In terms like America is a rather new country, and that slavery as a concept was like that's not it's like 3 or 4 generations removed at this point. That's like people's great great grandparents and great great grandparents. And the Jim Crow, like which is the segregation, the you can't drink from this water fountain, that kind of shit. People are still alive to this day. Yeah. My mom was alive when schools were desegregated. Yeah. There's literally like the iconic picture of the first little black girl that goes to like a all white school. I forget her name exactly. She's still alive. Like the picture of her where she's like a like 4-year-old girl going to like preschool and there's a bunch of like white people literally screaming that she needs to get out because she's like, you know, not white. That woman is still alive. And all those people in those pictures that were yelling at her, there's a lot of them who are probably still alive too. A lot of people don't realize that that shit was not that long ago, and it was very recent. Another big thing too is like the reason, like people try to claim like, oh, well, why do they do a lot of crime? Crime is directly tied to how much money you have. Poor people commit crime. That's just it's how it is statistically. The poorest demographics are the demographics that commit crime, and the poorest demographic in America is the black population because we have cucked them because they could not get jobs really properly after slavery and then segregation, and then we literally segregated what neighborhoods they could live in, and then we literally forced them out of what neighborhoods they could live in, and then they actually like, oh, like I could always pull out the classic of what happened to Black Wall Street. um Black Wall Street was a area that the black community had basically built up into one of the most like affluent communities that they had. It was Greenwood. They were doing good. They had businesses, they had homes, and what did we do? The government went in and bombed it. Like the government went in and destroyed everything because we couldn't let them have success. The Tulsa massacre, man, they went in and just they just devastated people. That's why it that's why it I think a lot of even Americans still don't know, like a lot of Americans still don't even know what like the Tulsa massacre was and things like that. But and economically pressured to live in ghettos with no jobs, exactly. I think a lot of especially non-Americans then lose they don't have that context and they don't know that about they don't know the actual like severity of what it was like, and that's what makes it so difficult. And like, no, I promise you, when Americans are talking about like racism and it sometimes seems so cartoonishly over the top that like there's no way this is real, I promise you it is. Like it really is that bad. Like it really is that bad, you know. Yeah, a lot of European shit that was done in South Africa. Um a lot I promise you, man, like Black Americans are not trying to be like cringe or like hyper woke or some shit, you know, like legitimately it just is that bad. And like unironically in America it is kind of cooked into everything. Like it sounds crazy to say, it's cooked into healthcare, bro. Like they literally used to just fucking capture like random slaves and just torture them. If you want to really like gynecology as a field literally came from them taking like black like slave women and just torturing them in the name of science, and that's how we have the basis of gynecology as a field, because of the just the torment and destruction of the bodies of black women. Like it is it unironically like stem cells literally come from the stolen cells of a black woman. Like unironically, like it is truly baked into everything. If it's American, there's gonna be some way that it is racist, like straight up. I know to like the European mind that might sound kind of crazy because it seems so cartoonishly evil and cartoonishly over the top, but it is true. And that's why also a lot of too then Americans kind of you know, a lot of especially the younger population in America has tried really hard to be more aware of that kind of shit. And yeah, it I know we might seem annoying on Twitter sometimes, but like I swear it really is baked into everything. No, I mean, okay. Yes, I could do a whole stream just deep diving into the history. However, I'm a white ass bitch, okay? So like I can get into like the big shit, but I can't really get into like the nitty-gritty because I just don't know that. So one thing, and I am preparing stuff because what I want to do too, I just wasn't able to get enough quite because I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to go about when I do this. I do want to have it where at the end of stream I can post something like on Twitter or in the Discord that has like links of like recommendations of stuff kind of related to maybe what we were talking about, or just like interesting creators that I think have, if you want to know more about certain subjects, like these are individuals that I think you could go to that are respectable and are good. I do want to post something like about specifically like some amazing like black content creators. Both black American as well as also Caribbean and African as well. That because they have a I can't fully get into that perspective, you know. And most of like what I know comes from them, you know. You would like that? Okay, good. Because I also want to get stuff about from like trans creators, you know, creators in general, things like that, women. I want to try to have a diverse pool of resources that you guys can go to. I also would highly recommend a recent thing that was posted that I thought was really good that I would recommend. I'm gonna post it. I want to post it again as well. If you want to also learn more about Gaza, and if you're a fan of interviews, um, a fellow Twitch streamer, Hasanabi, he has done a lot of just phenomenal interviews with journalists and doctors from Gaza. He is friends with a lot of people on the ground in Gaza and some individuals that have gotten to get out and come to the United States to try to rally more support for the cause. He has done interviews with them. He did recently an interview with a man who went to Gaza and was acting as a medical aid, and just you can hear a lot of firsthand accounts of what it is like. He has done some amazing interviews with some Palestinian voices. So I definitely want to post like a kind of recommendations list of people that I think have like amazing interviews. Also, I want to try to get like a list together of like journalists that I think are really good to look at in terms of like, and like I look at more independent journalists because I get really annoyed by like ads on articles. So I look at a lot of like Substack pages of like journalists. So I'm gonna try to get together also maybe like a list of journalists that I think if you want to follow like someone casually on Twitter that can post some like really good news, you know. But I do want to get that. I'm just trying to get it like set up how I want and set up so that like I could post it and you guys would see like pictures and then you can click on it and get like a link. I'm trying really hard. I'm trying really hard, guys. I put in a lot of work. But getting back to electoralism, I want to first talk about the list of what I like to call the who's the guy list. Because I cooked and made a cute little list of who I think the Democrats are gonna pick, who I think the Republicans are gonna pick, and then like a middle ground of like, I don't think either party is going to advocate for these individuals, but I think the American voter wants them, you know? So let me pull up the list. Let me pull up the list. Let me pull up the list. Boom. Who's the guy? Who's the guy? So I put to the side who I kind of think as well is like my dream pick for the Democratic Party, which is the GOAT Andy Bashar. That is my dream pick. Um, Andy Bashar is the governor of Kentucky. He is who I want. The better it gets, Holly. I was giggling very hard when I made this. I was I was giggling very, very hard. Um, I think Andy Bashir is my dream pick. Now, on the Democratic side, the individuals I think the Democratic Party are gonna pick for the next election. I think Pete Buttigieg is going to be a pick. I think that's a abysmal fucking pick, but I think they're gonna pick him. I think Pete Buttigieg is gonna be a main runner. He was the transportation secretary under Joe Biden. I don't know why they're gonna pick him because he's a gay man and America is just not ready for that. You like my JD Ranch. Okay, I think listen, okay, I was telling Boyfie about this. Okay, this is gonna sound probably kind of fucked up, but listen, I want to win the next election, god damn it. I want to win the next election, which means I'm sorry, this is gonna sound so not very like progressive girly pop of me. I better not see a marginalized person on that stage, Democratic Party. I'm gonna be so fucking real. I don't want to see a woman. I don't want to see a member of the LGBT. I don't want to see a. I better see the most Wonder Bread looking cis het dudes on that stage because I want a chance at victory. Damn it! Like I'm sorry, the glass ceiling is not being broken this time around. We're dealing with fascists. Like I'm sorry. Would I love like yes slay Kamala Harris? I guess whatever. Sure. I mean I don't really care about like identity politics really, but you know now is not the time. Which gets into my next point of Big Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan. You better sit your ass down for this election. I know she wants it. Gretchen Whitmer, she's like she wants it bad. It's clear that she's gonna run at some point. Like Gretchen Whitmer is 100% gonna run at some point in time for president. She better sit her ass down for this election. But I have a feeling they're gonna position her because she's also a white woman, so they're gonna be like I feel like they're gonna try to treat her like Hillary Clinton 2.0, and that's like basically suicide. So, but the Democratic Party doesn't really make good decisions. But Gretchen Whitmer is actually like pretty cool. Like she's actually got some pretty cool like she's not horrible or anything. She's actually like in my opinion, I think of those four people, Gretchen Whitmer is the best of them. Her biggest like issue that she sucks on is Palestine, but that's like basically all of them there. It's just the issue is because Michigan has the largest Muslim population in the United States, it kind of harbors her a bit more than the others because that's her constituent base. The cock, yeah, oh, I'll get into dude, there's lore behind that. But Josh Shapiro, if they pick Josh Shapiro, they might as well just hand in the victory to the Republicans. Josh Shapiro was one of the options for Kamala Harris as vice president. He is someone that like I feel like he might stick. I just put him there because like he's annoying enough that I feel like he might try for the president. I think he's from Pennsylvania, if I'm correct. He is a Jewish man, so again, just the Democratic Party just don't like. I'm sorry, this is not the time to like be like woke and pretty. Like, I'm sorry, we need to win. We need to win, and like the racists and the annoying ass losers are not gonna vote for it. Like, we can try it. We can try that when like we're not fighting against like couch fucker. Um. I put Mamala there because, like, I don't think she's gonna run again, but I just put her there because maybe they'll try to force her to. I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. They're not locking in. The Democratic Party have never locked in once in their life. Okay, can I be frank? There was one time there was two times the Democratic Party locked in since like post-Obama era in terms of like campaigning the whole dark Brandon shit that Joe Biden was doing, oh, they were locked in for that. That was like the best Joe Biden's like popularity online ever was the dark Brandon shit where he was like wearing the sunglasses and being like, yeah, dark Brandon's taking over MAGA. Like when he was doing that shit, acting like he was Arnold Schwarzenegger, like that was definitely his most popular peak. Um, and then when they allowed Tim Walz to call Republicans losers during the Kamala Harris run, that was also their second time they locked in. And then they told him he couldn't do that anymore because that made him a meanie bobini and immediately nerfed them. I don't know why they didn't let him keep doing that. Him calling them like weird when Tim Walz called Republicans weird, that was so popular with people. I don't know why they just were like, yeah, you can't do that actually. The reason I want Andy Bashar is here. I actually have a clip, and this is the clip of Andy Bashar that made me realize that this guy could lock the fuck in for us. Okay. This clip is Andy Bashar giving an interview about abortion and about the an anti-trans bill at the time. This is from 2023 from Kentucky. This was his statement, and look at this fucking dude. Look at him. God, it just
the issues that came up was, of course, trans rights. I mean, you did not hesitate to veto a sweeping anti-trans bill passed by the Kentucky state legislature, but your opponents still kind of came after, they also, because of that, probably came after you on that. It didn't work. What does that tell you about the effectiveness of this kind of an attack and, this approach from a lot of Republicans out there?
Well, all children are children of God. That's what my faith teaches me, and I was going to stand up especially for the most marginalized children that didn't deserve either a state legislature or an entire campaign and all these super PACs picking on them. These are individuals that are already at the margins. The studies show suffer more mental health issues, are more at risk for suicide. We ought to be in the suicide prevention business and not further harming kids who are going through too much. I did it because it was the right thing, but I will say that the way these super PACs and my opponent went about their campaign was just mean, and it was gross, and it was cruel, and people don't like that. That is not who we are, and this ought to be a message that you can't scapegoat people just to get folks angry, and it's wrong, right? Think about what some people are doing, trying to dehumanize other human beings, trying to turn people against each other, to even foster hate and anger towards another American here, another Kentuckian. Why? So you can elect one more person that has a certain letter behind their name. Listen, this can't be right and left. Some things have to be basic right and wrong, and we've got to get our politics back to where we ask the basic question of right and wrong. There's got to be limits. I mean, this can't be a ruleless type of game because it's so much more than a game. Ask any of these kids.
No, Pumpkin, I cried when I watched that for the first time. You have a Wonder Bread looking Kentucky man who's got a soft spoken voice, and he leads with, in his defense of trans kids, all children are children of God. Like, that's, for one, like, I love Christianity when it's actually, like, beautiful and, like, by the book of, like, yeah, you know, as a Christian, you should want to protect all children because all children are children of God, you know? This is, like, he is, like, unironically, like, um, he is the hardcore Christian, like, Jesus loving, like, Southern dude, and he is based as fuck, and he is a left dude. Like, he is the kind of energy that I think the Democratic Party need, because you would look at a guy like Andy, you would look at him, and you would, I feel like, just kind of profile him as a Republican if you just looked at him. Purely looked at him, and if I told you he's the governor of Kentucky, you would be like, okay, yeah. But he's not. And fun fact, despite the fact that Kentucky is a deep red state, Andy Bashar has won his election landslide every time. And Andy Bashar is the most popular governor in the entire country. Even the Republicans there love his ass because he is just the good, he is like the classic, like, common sense, but like if like the common sense guy was actually used for like good shit, you know, he is the quintessential common sense good Christian guy of like, I believe in Jesus, and Jesus taught me to be kind to my neighbor and to love my neighbor. And so I'm going to protect kids and marginalized people, and I am going to do my best to like make this like affordable and take care of my people. And like, that's what they need. That's what the Democratic Party needs. They need that because a lot of Americans would love that. For one, like, he just has such like golden retriever energy too. Like, he just has such like good-hearted, like, good energy to him too. Like, he's so soft-spoken and kind-hearted, and like, even just the way he referred to his like opposition as like they're being mean and cruel. Like, that's the words he used to describe them, was mean. Like, that's what they need if they weren't cowards. And actually, like, the only issue with Andy is that, for one, Andy's biggest, like, oh, trust me, I'll get into Ted goddamn Cruz in a moment. That's the Zodiac killer, baby. I'll get into him. Andy Bashar's biggest, like, policy blunder, you could say. His biggest like issue with his actual policy is that he avoids Israel Palestine like the plague in terms of questioning. And he did unfortunately have one of those very like when the whole like thing of everything on college campuses is anti-Semitic, like he did kind of like be one of the people that kind of went into that. His biggest issue is just he has not had the greatest takes on Israel Palestine. I don't think that is enough to nerf him. It is disappointing that he has not had like he has not said anything against Palestine, but he's a classic like Israel has a right to defend themselves kind of guy, it seems. But I don't think he has it with hate in his heart. I think he just has it in a like he just doesn't truthfully. I think his biggest issue is just I truthfully think he doesn't really know shit about international relations, and that would be his biggest issue for being a presidential candidate. His biggest issue is just I think he is a true domestic guy through and through, and so he just doesn't really have that much knowledge, so he tries his best to avoid it the best he can. And he tries his best to like appease as many people as he can, but you just can't with that kind of stuff. I think he could be fine if he runs and then they just pick a really good foreign advisor. He would be good. If they just pick a really good like expert to be his foreign advisor, I think that's fine because realistically they're the ones who do the actual work. Like, you know, the presidents are the ones actually doing the work. He just has to show up and do the conversation, you know. I that is Andy Bashar's biggest flaw to him is just he's really not good on if you take him out of the bubble of America, he's not very good. But I think right now Americans really want a president who is hardcore about focusing on domestic issues. So I think it will still be a benefit for him. And the other thing too is we don't know for sure if he's gonna run because like he was one of the people considered to be Kamala's vice president, which I'm so thankful he wasn't because he doesn't have the stink of the Kamala failure attached to him now because he didn't run with her. Tim Walz sadly will always have that. I do like Tim Walz. I think Tim Walz is again a quintessential vice president pick. I think he would be a phenomenal vice president for someone. But yeah, the Kamala stink will stick on him for quite a bit. Um Andy turned down uh Andy Bashar does. Mayor Pete from the Dem pick, he was the transportation secretary, but he was kind of bad. He was kind of bad about yeah, fucking he was pretty bad about that. Uh he wasn't terrible, but he's not the greatest. But that's God, I want Andy Bashar so bad. The only thing is he turned down the Kamala vice president thing because he was like, I gotta focus on Kentucky right now because we're kind of going through hell with the president election, so I'm trying to focus on Kentucky. I don't. He might want to stick for another term or two in Kentucky, but I'm hoping he's my dream pick. Now onto the voter pick category in the middle is my like I don't think the Republicans or the Democrats are going to they still will run these people because they'll run anybody can run technically, but I don't think they're going to want these individuals. Patrick Bateman, good old Gavin Newsom, he's gonna fucking run. The Democratic Party desperately do not want him to run, but he is going to run. And I think Americans will like him. As demonic as he is towards the second you mentioned the word homeless, I think he has enough, like, he is kind of being positioned as, like, the Democrats' Donnie in terms of, like, just having, like, mentally ill, crazy bitch energy that I think Americans will respond to that relatively positively. I think Americans will think that his biggest issue is just that he's the governor of California and not, you know, his horrendous policy on the homeless. But, you know, do I think he will win? I think Gavin Newsom has potential to be the Democratic Party's pick if they commit. I think he is the only one of them that has the name recognition to do it. And I think he's the only one that has the, like, to put it bluntly, enough backers to probably do it. I feel like it is probably going to come down to him, but and he's probably he's kind of trying to position himself sort of like if Reagan was a Democrat, which is kind of funny right now. My other blue note there of who I think voters would love that I think is gonna run that I don't think the Democratic Party will like is Big Boy JB Pritzker. JB Pritzker is the governor of yes, Gavin Newsom is basically Patrick Bateman. Gavin Newsom 1000% does Patrick Bateman style morning routines. The dude is a psychopath, like straight up. He is Harvey Dent if Harvey Dent was a real person. JB Pritzker is, I believe, the governor of Wisconsin? It's Wisconsin, right? Sorry, big boy. Oh, Illinois. My bad. JB Pritzker is the governor of Illinois. He is a certified big boy, which Americans love a big boy. Americans do. We love representation matters. We love a big beefy boy. He is really good. He is a leftist. He is like a Tim Walz, Andy Bashar style dude. There's one of my favorite videos is he posted of like him going around like a fucking carnival and he's just like taste testing like hot dogs and he's just like throwing back glizzies and being like, this is why Illinois is the greatest, and it's so fucking funny. He's so American. He's just so American. He's a big boy. He's a real eater and he lets you know it. He's got the kind of like he's kind of goofy, but not in like a pathetic way. He's just kind of silly in like a charismatic way. I know he does not play about The Sopranos. Like I think he's just such a like a likable dude, and he's got really good like policy. Like I said, he's like a Tim Walz, Andy Bashar style. He is a progressive, and JB Pritzker is a progressive. He calls himself a progressive. He does not shy away from that. I don't think they'll like him because he's a progressive, and they're gonna be like, he's too risky, blah blah blah. But I know I think JB Pritzker is my second pick of like who I would ideally want. JB Pritzker was also one of the people in the running to be Kamala Harris's vice president. So he is getting motion, and he is very well liked in his state. And he also does hate Republicans and is not afraid to call them out, which is another popular thing. I was kind of hard thinking of people that Republicans would like because truthfully, I think most Republicans would want to somehow get Donnie to run again. I think a lot of Republican voters would somehow be like, yeah, Donnie, third time. If he survives, you know. They would somehow dig him up and put him like on a scarecrow post in the White House. So I put him there in case like he does, you know, in case we just get God King Trump and he just manages to continue being the president and this is just our existence now. He somehow discovers like an elixir of immortality and this is just the rest of our lives. Yeah, somehow just why not? Anything can happen at this point. Fuck it, Donnie third term. There's no way any of his kids keep the grift going the way he could. The only one that they like is Baron, and Baron just wants to play fucking like World of Warcraft and like Baron doesn't want to be a part of that. Baron just likes crypto and World of Warcraft and like he wants to be kind of normal. Like the other kids are painfully fucking cringe. I did put Brian Kemp on there. Brian Kemp is from Georgia. The reason I put Brian Kemp there is I believe he's a district attorney of Georgia. He was like, when Trump was trying to get them to like recount the election, he was like, fuck no, I am not doing that for you because he was not going to sacrifice his career for Donnie, you know? He's like, him and Donnie have like had beef a lot. They go back and forth between liking each other and not. He's just kind of like a generic run-of-the-mill, like, guy in suit, Republican guy. He kind of does the anti-Trump thing. I think a lot of old-school Republicans would really like him. Because there are Republicans who don't like Donald Trump because they don't like how annoying he is. I think those like old school like Republicans and like the libertarian like fiscally conservative, socially liberal types, I feel like those are like the Brian Kemp voters. I feel like he will be popular, but I feel like he's not going to be the guy they pick purely because I don't think a lot of the MAGA people like him because he does have like a complicated on and off thing with Donnie that like I think that they're not gonna put the eggs in the basket. Now the Republican picks. So I guess we could start off with couch fucker. We could start off with couch fucker. I truthfully uh, if they put him on the ticket, I will actually be shocked if the Republican Party runs JD Vance. Not gonna lie. I truthfully think the only way JD Vance is going to be president is if Donald Trump straight up dies. Because JD Vance is that unlikable. I was shocked they even picked him for the vice president. If they pick him, that would truly be insane. Um I saw someone mention that they think that like because like if you guys don't know, there was like a rumor that when Bush was president that like if Bush died, the fucking FBI was gonna assassinate the vice president because he was stupid too, so that they could get like the Speaker of the House in charge, so that they didn't have to do with that. I feel like that's what they're. I feel like JD Vance is like, yeah, if Donnie dies, I'll be the guy, and I feel like everybody else in the room is like they're gonna bury them together. I think. I think if I think JD Vance would get buried with Donald Trump like his shit ass dog, okay? Like I do not I I don't think there's any way. Yeah, you'll hear the news, I'm gonna be president, and then a cartoon anvil will fall from the ceiling on his head. Yeah, I really don't think they're gonna pick him because he's just that deeply unlikable. Like, he is hilarious. Like, okay, I have the video. I gotta show the video. I gotta show the video.
Oh look, it's couch fucker. You gonna fuck a couch buddy?
Right here. Do not go past
There's
this.
another one right out. Pussy boy. Pussy boy. Pussy boy. Pussy boy. Go fuck a couch. Go fuck a couch, JD. Go fuck a couch. Oh look, it's couch fucker.
Just, oh, look, it's couch fucker. In the fucking tone that the guy says it in. God, yeah, some of my that like that guy said, "Oh look, it's couch fucker." Like they were put on this earth to say, "Oh look, it's couch fucker." Oh my god, it's so funny. It's so funny. I'm sorry, but you cannot run a dude for president who's like literally known colloquially as couch fucker. Like, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like, in the pictures, dude, it would be so easy with how many of those fucking JD Vance pictures they are, like that one I have posted, or the ones where they make him look like Augustus Gloop, where they give him like the propeller hat and the big fat rosy cheeks. Like, there's so many things. Like, it's cooked. Like, JD Vance is cooked. Like, truthfully, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he even is gonna have a career after this. Like, he's cooked. Like, bro's literally known as couch fucker, and like you can say couch fucker and people know who you're referring to. Like, it's that Jover for him. If they pick him, I will genuinely be shocked. I feel like if they pick him, they're only gonna pick him just because like they want to be nice and they'll let him on the stage, but like they're not gonna actually let him be the guy. In fact, actually, to be honest, I could kind of see them having him there as like a sacrificial lamb so that he makes the other guys look a bit better. I could maybe see that. Like they tell him like, "Yeah, JD, yeah, you have a chance. Don't worry. Go on this debate." And then Ted Cruz is going to come out with fucking like blood dripping out from his mouth afterwards because he just ate him live on stage. He during the freeze in Texas that killed a lot of people were basically because the thing about Texas is Texas likes to be different. Texas is on a completely separate power grid to the rest of the country, and during, because, global warming, a big freeze happened, shut down the entire state's power for about 2 or 3 weeks, uh, in the coldest temperatures that Texans had ever experienced, because Texans are used to like 100-degree weather, and we were getting like 10 degrees uh and snow, and like we're not built for that, and a lot of people died. People just straight up froze to death in their homes, and he literally fled the state to go to Cancun, and he got caught at the airport, and so he had to come back and pretend like he was just like getting his kids out, when in reality he was just leaving our ass to go to an island. um that's like one of the big things he's known for. The reason I called him a cuck is because during the he also has beef with Donnie because like he's run against Donald Trump in every election except for the most recent one against Joe Biden, because he just knew truthfully there was no shot. Um he ran against Donald Trump in all the elections, and even though he got his ass handed to him every time, he immediately turned around and acted like a fucking bootlicker to him. Uh Including there was an instance where Donald Trump called Ted Cruz's wife ugly on national television, and the dude still fucking stood by his side. He literally like called his wife ugly and fat, and Ted Cruz just still like bootlicked him, yes sir, no sir. And so yeah, he's a fucking cuck. He sits in the chair and watches Donnie, like honestly, sometimes I think that Ted Cruz has a humiliation kink with the way he just like he tries really hard to go against Donnie, but the second Donnie just shoots him like one look, he's like, "Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. President." I think he's too bitch made. Frankly, Americans don't like that. I think he's too bitch made, but he's gonna run because Ted Cruz always runs. He always does. It's kind of like a trope at this point. He just always runs. Also he's Canadian, which is interesting. A lot of people don't know that. Ted Cruz is Canadian. Thanks, Shero. I appreciate it. It's the biggest stain that y'all gave us was giving us Ted Cruz. Thanks. I appreciate it. He is Canadian technically, but he will not get the same scrutiny that, Obama did. Even though like Obama was literally from Hawaii, but they made up that he was like a Middle Eastern man or something. Ted Cruz was literally born in Canada, but they're gonna be like, nah, it's fine. Like Rose from Alberta, or it's like yeah, it's like Alberta, I think is where he's from. Let me double check my Ted Cruz. He's yeah, a piece of shit. I hate him so much. I hate him so much. Oh, he was born in Calgary, but yeah, he's like from like Alberta. I don't know if Calgary and Alberta are like the same kind of place. I don't know Canada like that, but I just know he's basically from the America of Canada that like all the Canadians hate, and then yeah, he came and decided to wreak havoc on us. So, love that. And then Marco Rubio, he is also in the Trump administration right now. He's from Florida. He is really annoying. I think Marco Rubio is probably realistic. I think realistically, Marco Rubio is going to be the guy for the Republicans because Marco Rubio wants it really bad. He he has somehow I believe he's somehow managed to like always be there. Like the thing that's interesting is like Marco Rubio should not be getting as much screen time as he is in this current season, but like he somehow finds a way to shove himself into like everything. Um, so like I could tell he wants it. He's hungry. He has run for president against Donnie in the past, but he just did not have enough name recognition at the time to really do anything about it. I think Marco Rubio is going to be picked because he is the more palatable, like he looks normal. He talks relatively normal. Don't get me wrong, he's still very evil. But he is definitely like a way more digestible looking and sounding person compared to Couch Fucker, for example. So, and aesthetics carry you a long way in American politics. Aesthetics carry, you can literally become the president from aesthetics alone. So I think Marco Rubio is probably the guy that they're going to, I think realistically, they are picking Marco Rubio as the guy, and they're just telling JD Vance that he's actually going to be it to make him feel better. But I think everyone knows truly that Marco Rubio is probably, I should have put Ron DeSantis, but I don't know, man. I don't know if Ron DeSantis is gonna. He might, the current governor of Florida. I guess yeah. I'll probably throw him in. He's probably gonna run. It's just he got really fucking humiliated when he tried to run against Trump in the last election. So like Ron DeSanctimonious, Meatball Ron. Yeah, he'll probably show up, but I feel he just has no sauce. Like Hunk Wei. I always think about that. I always think about that clip of him in the restaurant where he goes, "I'm hungry." He tried to align himself with Elon Musk. Like they launched his campaign on Twitter, and it was really cringe and bad. He just has no sauce. He's very unlikable. He's like, I would say Ron DeSantis is like as unlikable as JD Vance. Like he is really unlikable. So I don't think he really has a chance. He just has just like bad vibes, you know. He just doesn't have good vibes. Like I don't know. And like he's just lame. That's honestly like the biggest reason that I think with Americans that like he would not be popular is just like he's really lame. And Americans just don't like that. Yeah, it looks like he's probably going to. Another one that like a weird option for the Democrats that I don't think they're gonna pick, but he could run. Beto O'Rourke could run again now that I think about it. Because Beto O'Rourke has run for president in the past. He just doesn't have enough name recognition, I don't think. He's another Texas guy. There could be a Beto could show up again because why not at this point? I feel like he kind of does it for fun sometimes. But I think Beto would have a better chance this time than. Wait, I just got a devious idea. Imagine like a Gavin Newsom ticket with Beto O'Rourke as the vice president. I do kind of imagine, like, cause like Beto O'Rourke is bait. Beto O'Rourke is cool. He's the mayor of El Paso in Texas. He is sick. I do like him. I have fucking seen him in person. He is very fucking tall. Holy shit. He is a huge man. I have seen him in person. I was 10 feet away from him actually once, which was kind of cool. Beto O'Rourke is a Giga Chad in that, like, in the wake of the Uvalde shooting, when, you know, I'm not even joking, in the wake of the Uvalde shooting, the NRA did a convention in Houston that week, and Beto O'Rourke literally showed up and got in our governor's face and was like, "Why are you doing this? What are you gonna do about them kids, huh?" Like, Beto O'Rourke does have that dog in him. He really does. He does have that dog in him. That is another individual that he fucking hates Republicans, like genuinely hates them with everything in his being. It's just he has not been the biggest issue is since he has been trying to become the governor of Texas. It's just Texas is too gerrymandered. And I do want to get into the gerrymandering. It's just like I'm gonna probably do that next week because I do want to get into it because I'm also waiting to see what Gavin does since it seems I think it officially I think the gerrymandering officially passed in Texas. So I'm kind of waiting to see what Gavi does in response. But yeah, Beto has been trying to become the governor of Texas, but Texas is just so heavily gerrymandered to be red that he gets cucked. And I feel like because of that, a lot of people aren't going to want to vote for him because they're just going to be like, you lose every time, you know. But he is appealing. He's got the sauce. He's a conventionally attractive guy, which does help in elections. He's also like as tall as an NBA player, which is pretty. He's like 6'6". Dude, he's fucking I like I'm pretty tall for a chick. When I met him, it was insane. I was like, what? Trying to It was so funny, especially too because like Pumpkin, you'll know this, because I assume you know who Maxine Waters is. I assume you know. Wait, is it her? No, it's not her. Is it? Fuck, what's her name? Is it her? No, fuck, what's her name? What's her name? Not It's not Maxine Waters. God, what's her name? Uh, no, it's from Texas. She's from Texas. She just passed recently. Fuck, what was her name? What was her name? I don't remember if she was a senator or if she was a congressperson. Sheila Jackson. Wait, is she? Wait, I hope she didn't die. Did she die? Or is she? Because, yeah, she died. Sheila Jackson. Sheila Jackson. I assume you probably know who she's, I assume you probably know who Sheila Jackson is because I know where you're from. But, she's a Texas representative. She is she does do a lot though in like Houston and stuff, and she does a lot for the yeah, Sheila Jack, dude, he did an event at my college when he was running for governor in the last election, and I went to his rally and saw him, and I was like right up at the front. Dude, I had his poster and everything in my fucking room. I'm such a loser. He was there with Sheila Jackson. Dude, she was like 5 foot tall. And this dude's like 6'6". He literally had to get like a big ass box in the center because basically what it was he was standing in the center and when we were in like a donut around him. He had to get like this giant ass fucking box in the center and he had to like help lift her up onto it so that we could actually see her because she's that tiny because he's that fucking big. It was really funny. She she like didn't even come up to, she like barely came up to his waist. It was really fucking funny. It was really funny. But yeah, I saw him and he was sick. He's another one that I think. Yeah, she was tiny. She was so fucking sweet though. Holy shit. She was so nice. But I did want to get into now, I gotta do some glazing. I gotta do some glazing here because now that we've been talking about elections, I feel like it's time to talk about, you know, I could get into the Republican side. It's gonna take a lot more time for the Republican side of the election to get interesting because right now they're just dealing with Donnie and they're most likely going to clearly have their pick and there's probably not going to be many challengers running since they do have a vice president and stuff like that. The Democratic Party is going to be the more interesting side because they're just kind of having to throw shit at a wall and hope one of them sticks. One thing that I'm going to be really interested to see is I'm going to be really interested to see how the campaigns go. Because a big issue with the Democratic Party is that everything they do feels really old. Everything they do feels painfully old and painfully outdated and very boomer. And I think that's part of what kills them is just even like a dude, like even if someone like Pete Buttigieg, who's like what 50, even if he runs, he just the energy he has with all of his campaign and shit is so old. Pokemon go to the polls. Yeah, exactly. Like it's so bad. And I think in their behavior right now to someone who's like a new goat for me right now that they're acting as their behavior towards him is signaling to me that they see no issue in how they run their campaigns and it looks like they're going to continue with their boomer shit because I think right now the greatest fucking like case study for how to run a banger ass political campaign right now is my fucking my boy right now, Zohran Mom Donnie, I think Zohran's campaign, like Zohran is running a masterclass on how to run a political campaign right now. And to illustrate that, I wanted there's two campaigns right now that are running that have done that are doing really fucking good that I want to show because oh shit. Okay, well OBS scared me there for a second. I want to show two campaigns that I think are like what I hope they do because it's so good. So I have two of them. I want to show Zohran's first because Zohran is just cooking in ways that like Democrats have never cooked before. This is his main campaign ad that he came out with in October. And I'm just gonna let it cook. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit, but I'm gonna let it cook.
New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Every politician says New York is the greatest city on the globe. But what good is that if no one can afford to live here? City Hall is engulfed in corruption.
Unscientific
The cost of living is the real crisis. New Yorkers are being crushed by rent and childcare. The slowest buses in the nation are robbing us of our time and our sanity. Working people are being pushed out of the city they built. A mayor could change this, and that's why I'm running. I'll make buses fast and free.
so I can just get where I'm going.
I'll make childcare available to all New Yorkers at no cost.
I want to raise my kid in New York.
And I'll freeze the rent for every single rent-stabilized tenant.
These Eric Adams rent hikes are killing us.
Life in this city doesn't need to be this hard, but politicians like Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo want it to be this way. They care about their donors. They care about themselves. They don't care about you, the working class who keep this city running. This campaign is for every New Yorker who believes in the dignity of their neighbors. And the government's job is to actually make our lives better. We can afford to bring down the rent, have world-class public transit, and make it easier to raise a family. We can do all of that, and so much more, because this is New York. We can afford to dream.
That shit is like so fucking good. Like, it is youthful. It is entertaining. It looks cool. The music isn't some like old ass fucking like country wannabe bumpkin shit. He's charismatic. He's wearing normal ass clothes. He's talking to Americans that actually look like normal New York citizens, you know? Like, even something as simple as like his logo is fun. His logo literally looks like God, what's a bodega. He looks like a bodega sign, which like, yeah, he's running in New York, you know? Like, that's what we need more of. And the thing is this dude is so fucking popular. This is a socialist, for one. And he is a, yeah, democratic social. He says it. He says it too, and he does not shy away from it. He won the fucking primary in New York because his campaign is that fucking good. And guess what? He is only getting more popular. He still is at 44%. And normally Americans hear the word socialist and they get scared and they run away real quick, you know. But because he approaches it in such a down to, because also another thing too is the way he even just talks of like, I'm gonna make childcare affordable. Not like, he talks in very layman, he talks, but not in a way that makes him sound like he's trying to like baby talk, you know. He talks like a normal ass dude who believes in like the intelligence of Americans, instead of like acting like this very pushed away guy. And even like his fucking page is great. Like, it's bright, it's simple, he's got like a hardcore color scheme too, which is great. I could have nutted when every time he talks about bus like public transport. I love public transport. Like his platform is just great. Like it, you know, it's just peak. It's just peak, you know. $30 minimum wage by 2030. Healthcare, public transport, childcare, baby baskets for New York newborns, full protection for LGBT individuals, abortion protection, like 10 out of 10. Cracking down on bad landlords, huge problem in New York. Poster that don't mess with Zoran, and it's just don't mess with Zoran in the movie. Dude, he unironically, like, I'm not even just, dude. And also, he's got the dog in him too. God, I want to see if I can find his one ad that he did. Because also, he's running against a literal sex offender. Like, Andrew Cuomo that he's running against is a literal sex offender. Fuck, where can I find it? Also, right now, another thing he's doing a scavenger hunt in New York. Because that's another thing about Zoran, is Zoran, I never see this man not in the streets. He is non-stop in the fucking streets. And that's so good, because people want to see their representative. They don't want them to be this, like, super removed individual. I want to see if I can find... Like, God, I get so much genuine hopium from this guy, like, straight up. Oh, God, I want to see if I can find it. Okay, I need to find, it was his video he posted for, yeah, okay, it was his ad he posted from winning the primary. Also, he got the Bernie cosign too. Thank you, Goat. Thank you, Bernie. Is it this one? No, that's a speech he did. Because also his videographer team is just really fucking good too.
We stand on the verge of a victory
This is what it was.
that will resonate across the country and the world.
Yeah, Andrew Cuomo killed Jay Schatz's grandma.
This victory will be historic, not just because of who I am, a Muslim immigrant and a proud democratic...
Here, let me see. Can I... Oh, shit. Fuck, can I pull it up in, like, not crazy big mode? Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna... Just so the quality isn't totally buns. Here we go.
Stand on the verge of a victory that will resonate across the country and the world. Make no mistake, this victory will be historic.
This was his response to winning the Democratic primary.
I am a Muslim immigrant and a proud democratic socialist. But for what we will do, make this city affordable for everyone. Because after this rally, as many of us sleep, millions of our neighbors will step out onto moonlit streets across our city. Nurses working the night shift will put on their scrubs and save lives.
Right? And he's not 8,000 years old.
The midnight shift scrubs and polishes in the dark. And even more, New Yorkers will spend the entire night tirelessly working and return home carrying the burden that it's...
Like, he is that fucking good. He is that fucking good. I can't exactly find it, but wait, actually, you know what? Hold on. I might be able to. Hold on. Because there's one that he did that was... Hold on. That I think really illustrates the point of, like, why one of the big things about him that I think makes him so appealing that a lot of people just fail, a lot of them fail to understand. President should freeze all your assets and have upper limits. Dude, it's so ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Is it a problem in Canada? Like, do you guys also have a problem with, like, literal geriatrics being the ones that are, like, the only people that have any semblance of political power? Is that also a thing for you guys? Okay, I'm gonna have to try to find it because this is it's a really fucking good video. I gotta try to find it. I'm gonna do some digging while I yap on his page. Okay, so ignore me. Okay, yeah, because it doesn't want to show videos. Okay, so am I just gonna have to hold on. Maybe just like from this I can find it. Which is the God, where is it? Okay.
Better day.
So it's all the way in June. Got you. I'll find it. I'll find it. Yeah. Impy has been an old white woman for 25 years. Oh no. Oh my God, Jesus, this guy's a poster. Yeah, God, we have a problem too of like only seeing the same faces and they're all 8,000 bajillion years old. I didn't know if that was also a problem up for you guys in Canada. Oh, also because like I mentioned, the guy he's running against is a literal sex pest. He literally like did a whole thing where instead of, because you know the whole big thing is like release the Epstein files, he literally did a whole promo video called Release the Cuomo Files. about like release all the evidence of his sexual crimes against his female staffers. Like he has a dog in him, which is what is like so necessary. Okay, okay. Where is, let me see it. Where is it? It should be around here somewhere. It should be around here because it was his like victory video basically that he had for winning the primary. So he will have posted it around here. Because bro was taking like a Kendrick Lamar style victory fucking lap, as he should. Where is it? 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 Okay, yeah, this is where he's still, people are like, yeah, he won. Whoopee. Is it this one?
All thanks to you.
Okay, no. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, see, based. Is it this one? No, not quite. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then watch me find out that he deleted it, and then I'm gonna look like a fucking idiot with my pants around my ankles. Is this it? Wait, is it this one? No, it wasn't this one, right? Oh my God, what the fuck? Where is it? Damn, watch it be that he like deleted it or something, or that I just like can't fucking find it. Because that would be heartbreaking because it was so good. It showed, I think, such a good damn. Okay, well it was I don't think I can find it, but it was basically a video of him going through New York on like the like election night. It was him on election night going through, and you were seeing him interact with like average New Yorkers, and you were seeing the average New Yorker as they stopped and were like, wait, holy shit, it's you. I literally just voted for you like 2 hours ago, bro. And it was just so good because it just showed, I feel like, what a lot of current elections are like. Yeah, this is literally pictures from that video. I just can't find the actual video. But yeah, it was literally just him going around and being like, hey, have you guys voted yet? And he did that all night. He spent the entire day going around nonstop. Like I said, I have never seen this man not in the streets. He is always out there. And that's what we need more of. We could do it if our politicians had the ability to walk for longer than 20 minutes at a time without getting winded. They can't really do that, so. Oh, Jesus, what is going on? I will say, warning, my stream is kind of... Okay, my network's being a little wacky, so if I just randomly die, you guys are gonna know why. But I think Zoran is running a masterclass right now, and another individual that you guys probably have not heard of, well, especially most of you, that has just popped out, like, just popped out on the scene, like, a week ago. I'm not even kidding. This dude is another, I think, is gonna need to be paid attention. He's running for Senate in Maine, which is a very, very, very north state. He is another one that I think will need to be monitored because his campaign right now is so good. And I think this is another kind of guy that the Democrats like really need if they would lean into it. Yeah, he just, dude, you're gonna lose your mind when you watch this video. I lost my mind when I watched this video because I did not expect it to go the way that I thought it would.
What I love most about Maine are the people. I have never met people who are more hard scrabble, even in a place that requires you to work like 2 or 3 different jobs. We have watched this state become essentially unlivable for working class people, and it makes me deeply angry. My name is Graham Platner, and I'm running for U.S. Senate in Maine to defeat Susan Collins. A decade of military service going overseas, farming oysters to feed my community, diving to lend a hand to other fishermen, trying to start a family. But everywhere I've gone, it seems like the fabric of what holds us together is being ripped apart by billionaires and corrupt politicians, profiting off of destroying our environment, driving our families into poverty, and crushing the middle class. I did 4 infantry tours in the Marine Corps and the Army. I'm not afraid to name an enemy, and the enemy is the oligarchy. It's the billionaires who pay for it, and the politicians who sell us out. And yeah, that means politicians like Susan Collins. I'm not fooled by this fake charade of Collins' deliberations and moderation. The difference between Susan Collins and Ted Cruz is at least Ted Cruz is honest about selling us out and not giving a damn. People know that the system is screwing them. They know it in their bones. Nobody I know around here can afford a house. Healthcare is a disaster. Hospitals are closing. We have watched all of that get ripped away from us, and everyone's just trying to keep it all together. Why can't we have universal health care like every other first world country? Why can't we take care of our veterans when they come home? Why are we funding endless wars and bombing children? Why are CEOs more powerful than unions? We fought 3 different wars since the last time we raised the minimum wage. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but I know that I'm asking the right questions. When I tell people around here that I'm running for Senate, sometimes the initial reaction is, what the but when I tell them why I'm doing it, because I truly do believe that we can build a system that is going to represent working people, the #1 response has been, well, thank God somebody's going to do it. You're supposed to fight for the things you love. This is our home, and I will fight tirelessly for it, for you. It's Mainers first, and Maine always.
Dude. When I watched this for the first time, and yeah, the fucking combat veteran oyster farmer with the fucking Metal Gear voice with the butt rock in the background, I was expecting some, like, when he said universal health care, that shit uppercutted me in the jaw when I watched it for the first time. Like, I did not expect that dude being like, I served 2 tours in Iraq and I'm an oyster farmer. Here's my butt rock in the bag, brother. And then just universal health care, raising the minimum wage, stopping the genocide in Gaza. Like, did not fucking expect that. That was like, holy shit. That's awesome. Because I fully think that the thing that the Democrats is also really struggling with is a lack of these dudes. A lack of, like, real just, like, guy types that are, like, super based. I feel like they have too many nerds in suits, and they need more, like, blue-collar seamen, like, guys that you definitely probably would profile as like a right winger just due to how America is, you know? And then they come up with some super base shit talking about like, yeah, we need universal healthcare, brother. Like, are you kidding me? That's awesome. I think they need way more of that. They lean too hard into like the nerdy ass suit guy that like they need guys like this that feel like a normal dude, you know? And also like to give context too of like how fucking base this guy is. I'm like he literally posted this, his yearbook, most likely to start a revolution, and it literally says free Palestine in it. Bro is free Palestine. Yeah. Like, bro, literally, like that. It looks like it says free Kazakhstan, possibly too. Like, literally, like he really is the classic like leftist guy who grew up in a poor area. Definitely got swept up in the patriotic like going to the military because they thought they were actually going to be able to go to another country and do good, and then they saw the horrors of what they did and was like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong place, man, you know? Because that's another thing. A lot of people think we're like, how is he like this super base guy, but he was in the military? Listen, for one, there's a lot of leftists that love the military, like that want to like do the patriotic thing, you know? Like I think there's a lot of leftists who are way more patriotic than people like to think. And I was one of them. Yeah. There's a lot of leftists who genuinely want to go in there and like do the like classic like I feel like you think you know the trope a lot with like police officers of like going in to try to like redo, you know, fix this thing, and then you just realize you can't fix the system because it's just so like you have to just destroy it from the ground up at that point because it's just there's so many things in place. I definitely get the vibe he was probably one of those guys. Also, like bro was probably of, you know, like 9/11 was a hell of a thing on the American psyche, you know, whether you want to admit it or not, like 9/11 as well was just like I don't really I can't really blame people who were in the military at the 9/11 era like in terms of like joining or like going into deployment because like truthfully everybody in America was like hell yeah we're doing that, you know, like there was very few people who were initially against the war on terror, you know. Exactly, there are very few people. And then like his platform, dude, and I went through his policy too because also like I'm about this shit. If I'm going in, I'm looking through your shit. I'm not just gonna watch your video. I'm gonna see your policies. And like, dude, where was it? Where is it? Healthcare is a basic human right, not a privilege. Americans should not have to put on a uniform or fight in a war for decent healthcare. Oof. Boom, right to the heart there, buddy. Um, our government is kidnapping people off the streets and imprisoning them in hellish conditions. This is unconscionable. He's against the fucking crazy anti-immigration shit that we got going on. Like, he's a climate dude. He's about protecting so ending billionaire tax dodging. This one was really interesting. He wants to do a lot of like protections, you know, for the marine life as well as like he wants to one thing that I thought was interesting, if I think he has like a specific thing on it. Um of like, oh, this was crazy to uphold tribal sovereignty? Okay, for one, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even realize there was tribes in Maine. I'm gonna be honest, like that, like I did not even know that. Dude, having a dude that looks like this, whose name is like fucking Graham Platner, talking about tribal sovereignty, like holy shit. They made him in a laboratory to be like the ultimate like king of the hill style dude who's just so based actually. Like oh my god, did not expect that. You don't even hear about tribal sovereignty anymore. Like, I feel like that's a very, like, 2015 era style, like, policy that people would say. I feel like people don't even talk about that anymore. He talks also about what was raising the minimum wage. Since he's a military guy, he's definitely gonna try to get like a Pentagon position. Yeah, he's I will never ever vote to send Americans into a pointless war. Everything we went through in Iraq can be laid at the feet of those in Washington, like Senator Collins, who knew better but voted yes on a disastrous, deadly war. So it seems like he also might have been an anti-Iraq war guy. It's just he was active at the time, so they kind of just tell you to shut the fuck up and do what you're told. So to be honest, it looks like he might be one of those guys that, goes to like the politicians and is like demands them, like does the like where they go to politicians and they're like, tell us about why you sent us to Iraq, and then they always just like get drug out because nobody wants to talk about that. Um, one thing he did talk about that was interesting that like I don't know if I could see it, but like I don't remember what it was exactly, but he had something in oh yeah, term limits. That was another thing too. Susan Collins pledged to serve 2 terms in the Senate and retire. That was 5 terms ago. I will support strong term limits for all congressional representatives, 2 terms in the Senate, 6 terms in the House. So he's also a term limit guy, so he'll get points with Shiro for that. He had an interesting thing that about maybe it was the Pentagon thing. Yeah, here it was. Rebuild American shipbuilding. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably a big thing up in like, the New England area that like I just don't ever think about. But yeah, he's talking about like bringing shipbuilding back to and I was like, I've like never fucking thought about that. I don't think about shipbuilding. So like sick. I'm a bit of a logistics nerd and shipbuilding would be amazing for us. Yeah, he's a shipbuilding guy. He's a shipbuilding bro. Like massive waste and procurement, a revolving door between Pentagon and blah blah blah. We need to take the funds currently paying for mansions in Virginia and Maryland for defense contractors and reinvest them into closing the massive shipbuilding gap. I've seen under the hood. I know exactly how much money is wasted and where. Send me to Washington and I'll work to rebuild the military. That like I didn't think about that because like I'm a military is where my it is not my expertise. It is not I know like enough about to have like conversations about the military. I know more about like specific conflicts and what we've done, but I don't really know much about the actual like inner workings and know much about like I mean, I know like despite how much money we spend, we're still getting like laps ran on us, in regards to like innovation and shit compared to like China and stuff, but yeah, he's like a bring shipbuilding back. So like, all right, sick. Yeah, bring the ships back. Bring the ships back, Graham. Hell yeah. But he's another. Boats are still the linchpin of logistics and we rely on them deeply, but we can't make our own. If we can't make our own, we're vulnerable and paying China to build ships instead. Yeah, that is true, especially like, we rely so much on like carriers and shit too. Like that does make sense. Yeah, that was just interesting because as someone who like I don't really think much about like the logistical sides of the military because it's just not my area. That stood out to me. Like I've never really I mean, obviously you hear politicians mention like rebuilding the military and stuff, but I've not seen someone pick like a specific area like that and target. And I think that's very smart because like now I think in my mind I'm like, yeah, he's the ship guy. And I think that's a very smart thing to do as well because like now I'm aware of a lacking that we have that like I wasn't aware of before because I just don't really know much about that aspect of the government. Like this dude is very smart with how he's doing his stuff. He's another like I think and he did get the Bernie cosign just recently. Very, very pleased about that. Very, very happy about that. That's if you're a progressive or a leftist in if in the US, basically getting the Bernie cosign is like a big dub. That means you're gonna get a lot more attention and a lot more donors are gonna feel comfortable donating to you because he's more, he's an established dude. So, because something I think is really interesting is like obviously there's no way Bernie is running for president again. As depressing as it is that we failed him both times, it's not gonna happen. He's too old. You know, mentally, yes, he is there, but he's just too old and he's tired, you know, like he just can't do it, man. Like, and he knows he's too old. I think right now he's just trying to build like a coalition, basically. I think because right now Bernie is doing just like a tour basically around the country, trying to rally local politicians and trying to rally like local communities around more local elections. Because that's another thing is like, yes, the president is important, but the reason too is that the reason too that I talk about like stuff like people like Zohran or Graham here, who like Zohran is a mayoral candidate. He's a mayor of New York. Realistically, it doesn't affect me. This guy's from Maine. I don't live in Maine. But it's important to not just look at I mean, he's still running for Senate, so he still will be someone that can affect the global scale of America, you know, but like it's still more, a lot of Americans think that president is the only election that matters, and that's very much not true. And so I still think, you know, it's very important to cover more smaller elections and try to get, even if it's just one more eye, just another eye on some promising leftist candidates that seem to be in the rise, because I think Bernie's at the point where he's going to retire, and I think he's just trying his hardest to build a coalition of leftists to leave behind to kind of, you know, he's most likely going to pass the torch to AOC, and I have my gripes with her. I don't think she's as bad as people make her out to be, but, like, you know, she's a person, and she's not as... She's definitely not as even far as, like, Bernie is, you know, but it seems like she's the likely torchbearer. I would prefer it go to Elon Omar, but, you know, it'd be like that. I think he's just trying to strengthen a coalition right now so that when he retires, hopefully there's some individuals who can, because that's the thing that sucks, and that's one thing that Canada does fucking wipe our ass on, same with the rest of Europe, is that, you know, we don't have like a parliamentary system, we don't have a chance for anybody that's not the two parties to get a seat. There's no such thing as like, you can't be a third party and get seats. That's not how that works in America. So, you know, we kind of just got to try to take over another party. That's really our only option, is just trying to take over the Democratic Party. That's really the only thing we logistically can do. And I think he knows that, which is why he went from going independent to, like, I mean, yes, you technically can be independent because, like, Bernie was, but he still took the seat that would have, you know, gone to a Demo, you know, it's not proportional or anything. I think that's why he switched to Democrat ultimately, besides just running for president that one time, is just because, yeah, he knows that the only way we can do is if we eat the other party from the inside out and cannibalize it, essentially. There's no other chance. That's our only chance we have. And it's unfortunate that that's how America is, but, you know, that's how America is. What? That was my... That was my discussion on, I was really nervous. I was so nervous for doing this because, for one, I was like, I mean, obviously I've talked about politics and I've done like, oh, this is a stream where I am doing like mostly talking about politics, but I still am playing like Stardew Valley or something in the background. This is my first like straight, purely everything we're gonna look at is politics for the most part stream. I was very nervous about it. I was trying very hard to like get everything set up. I had so many notes. I like doing the, I'm gonna be honest, I'm stealing so much of Hassan's format straight up. Like I like doing the like at the start because I want to do it on Monday. I think doing it Monday and having it be like a going over kind of like last week is a good way to go about it, since like I'm not a daily political streamer, so I can't do like breaking news kind of shit really, unless it's like super, super important. Like if like Donnie dies or something, you know? I like how he does with like the first 20 or 30 minutes is like going over personal news. And I think since it'll be a Monday, it'll work very well because it's like I can just say like, oh, here's going over your weekly schedule and blah 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 and what happened. And then yeah, doing it. I would say my Monday streams are probably going to be shorter, definitely. Like I definitely will probably do like 3, maybe 4 hours just because I don't want to force myself to talk too much. And also I do want to try to cut these up into like YouTube. So I want to try to have them about like relatively more concise topics. It's gonna rain. Yeah. It's raining over here. um I think I think I'm gonna keep doing it of like I'll go into it with here's a couple stories that I want to talk about that occurred, and then maybe just talking about a general topic, because then that way too, maybe I could talk about something that is like, you know, an area I know a lot about, maybe something that like you guys just don't really know much about and have questions and I could go into, something like that. I think could be a good way to do that. And yeah, I looked at you we said Pumpkin with the gerrymandering story that you posted. Yeah, the only thing about that is like, I'm just waiting at this point. I was gonna talk about it, but then at this point now it seems like I kind of just have to wait to see what Gabby does because it looks like they're committing to it. So it's I'm because knowing my luck, I'll talk about it, and then the next day Gavin Newsom will be like, I took over California. you know so like knowing my luck, he'll do some crazy bitch shit as soon as I finish talking about it. So I'm just kind of like waiting. I'm like, what are you gonna do, Gabby? What are you gonna do? um but I want to I like doing it like that, as well as Mondays too, since it's like the first stream back from the weekend. I feel like also I'm just like my brain is a little more bleh compared to later in the week, so it's also a little easier on me to do, I think, like a shorter stream instead of like playing a game where my brain might be kind of like, oh god, and then I'm not really paying much attention because I know enough about politics that like I can kind of turn my brain off and just go to factory settings and just talk about it. So it works well. And also, I will say too, the reason I wanted to do streams, because I thought about originally just making videos, but the reason I wanted to do streams and then maybe turn them into videos is because I like the input from you guys. Like, I do. I like the input from you guys. It's, for one, I think the discussion is just, in politics, discussion is the most important thing, in my opinion, in terms of like, that's how people are going to learn the most, is by discussions. And also, it helps me because if I say something and you guys don't understand what I'm saying, or maybe I'm using like a term that I don't realize is like a little, like if I'm using something that's more academic than I realize, it's good for me because you guys can point out in real time, like, wait, can you explain that more? I don't really get what you mean there, Like, I would not have thought that I would have to kind of explain more of the, like, financial ties with, like, for example, like, the US and Israel, if it was, like, not for Ultra not really understanding that, because he's not American, He's not going to understand how intense the ties are. So I also like it for that reason, because I think it will make it a lot easier on me to know what you guys, like, maybe need clarification on. And then also I can know too, like, okay, then maybe I'll do some more research into X topic and I can bring some things for you guys. And like I said, I am working together to get like a recommendations thing, because I didn't even know about the Catholic school. Yeah. I that's what I want to, yeah, I want to have like a breaking, like, major story section, and then just like a general topic section. I think that'll be probably how I do it. Still gonna probably be tweaking it here and there, obviously, as things go, but, and I hope you guys liked me trying to do it in a way where I can, like, not only show you guys videos, like the campaign stuff, like the reason I started with electoralism is just because it's such an easy thing for me to talk about that I knew, like, I knew I wouldn't get too nervous and I would be able to yap about it. But this way I could show you guys videos and I could also show you, like, articles, because for me, that's what I found, like, a lot of the content creators that I like when they show articles in the videos, because I feel like I feel like that's a lot easier than just having me sit there and yap, because you could think like I'm talking out of my ass, you know, versus like, okay, here's the article that I'm going off of, you know? And I want to eventually, when I talk about certain things, like, I straight up could pull out, like, research papers if I want to. Like, I could go that level if I really want to. So, depending on, like, how important the subject is, I do want to eventually do something. Yeah, because you're more in, you know more about, like, international and, like, military and all that stuff, Pumpkin. Yeah, see, because that's the thing too, is I'm very domestic focused. I'm very domestic focused. Like, I obviously keep track of, like, major, like, Israel Palestine. I keep track of, like, whenever Donnie's doing some shit with some international presidents and stuff. Like, I keep track of all that, obviously, but I am very, very domestic focused. So that is another thing too, is I don't get into international very well, because part of the reason is just because I feel like a lot of international stories, unless it's something like just super, super major, like Israel and Gaza, for example, or like you mentioned it in the chat, Pumpkin. I just didn't get to mention it at the time, but I do want to do a stream talking about the Congo. I do want to do that because I feel like a lot of people don't know much about what's going on in the Congo right now. And I also don't know as much about what's going on in the Congo. I know a bit. I know a bit. But that's why I didn't really talk about it, because I don't know enough and I don't want to talk out of my ass on a really, really important issue going on. So I think talking about, like, I think doing a stream on, like, that would be really good. That's something I do want to do. It's just I would have to do a lot of research before then, because, yeah, I'm not going to show up talking out of my ass, you know? That's, like, something I'm being very diligent on trying not to do. Uh, I also think it could be interesting to maybe do, like, you know, like, obviously, like, I just kind of talked about general electoralism here. I think it could also maybe be interesting to maybe for some of them do, like, we're gonna talk about a historical event or something, like, that maybe a lot of people don't know about, or, like, for example, like, oh, I do, just, like, off the top of my head, kind of how we talked about, like, the Tulsa Massacre, you know, we talked about Black Wall Street a bit today, you know, I think maybe doing, like, okay, we're gonna talk about this specific event or something like that could also maybe be good, something that is important, that is maybe, like, kind of shunned a bit, that a lot of people don't know about. Your niche, yeah. Because, like, for example, like, and I think a lot of people don't realize, like, how, like, as much as, like, the joke of, like, history repeats and stuff, that, like, common phrase, like, I think a lot of people don't realize how much the historical context really, because that's another issue for me, is since a lot of my history knowledge is American based, that's why I have to, like, do a lot of research into my international topics before I talk about them, because I don't know, like, I don't know about the history of the Congo, so I don't want to talk about the Congo because I don't know enough about, like, for example, with Israel Palestine, the the issue for me, what made me help understand the, like, genocide, was when I learned about the history of the area, and, like, I learned what the fucking Nakba was, and I learned about the history of violence, you know, like, a lot of people think October 7th was the start when it's not, you know? I think stuff like that is still really important, like historical events. I really love the pace that you speak in. It's not too fast or slow. Okay, thank you, because I worry about that sometimes, that I talk a little too quickly. If I ever do on certain things get a little fast, or I kind of, like, also have a habit of mumbling at times, just let me know. I just sometimes sometimes I get a little too into it, and then, like, I get kind of excited because I'm a nerd about this stuff, so I start kind of popping off, and I can kind of get a little excited and start talking a little fast. So if it ever gets, you know, you could always correct me if I need to, like, slow or whatever, but I'm glad it's been good, because I've been trying to be conscious of that. But that's something I want to do. I think it'd be really interesting because I don't know. And even just like, for example, like, I also like something I would love to do is talk about more like, and this is something I think that someone like Stacy, like you would really like, is talk about even subjects of like politics, but even in regards to like, for example, politics and like fashion, you know, of like how fashion trends signal political times. And that's another thing too that I love the I love but also hate the fact that everything is political truly, and a lot of people don't like that idea and they try to act as if it's not true when it is, you know. I would love to kind of do maybe like I guess like a mini series or in my streams where I talk about like here's why X thing is political actually, and like fashion. Here's why fashion is political. Here's how you can look at the quite literally the fashion trends as a signal for the political times and the political climates that we're in, and how like the aesthetics of certain eras contribute. Like there's an amazing video that I have on my recommendations that I have called The Aesthetics of Fascism. It's so good. Like I love that kind of stuff. You know, that stuff is so like I love talking about things like that as well. Like politics in terms of media as well. If you know, gaming and fashion, movies, things of that sort is I I think it's really good, and I think it's a lot of people don't think about stuff like that, you know? Like there's kind of the like for even just for example the joke of like, oh, this is X thing is a recession indicator because everything is political. Like it's not a coincidence that as a conservative movement is taking root, things like modest fashion is coming back into sway. There's a reason that, you know, milkmaid dresses are popular and modest clothing and oh no, get rid of your crazy makeup. It's clean girl aesthetic. You know, there's a reason that stuff comes back. There's a reason it's no longer grungy Kesha style makeup. It's clean girl. It's print. It's proper. It's beige. You know, that kind of stuff, like it is a sign of the time. Conservatives ruining modest clothes for shy girls. It really is, yeah. You know, like things like that are actually like representation sort of the changing times. You know, the trends of like you could even like get into like I think it'd be interesting to kind of go into this sort of more even like explicit like social commentary of like the rise in the like soft girl femininity concept of like you know when you're with your true man because he makes you feel soft, you know, he made like so, like the classic you'll see TikToks being like when I got with my current boyfriend and I started to like pink again and things like that. And the thing is I completely understand because I was the exact same fucking way. I went through that. I experienced that. But it is an interesting phenomenon of feeling like you're in a happy and safe place and now you need to like I guess you could say like return to tradition, you know. Suddenly you're back like you might like hyper feminine things and stuff more, and how like that is just a thing for some people because maybe they repressed an aspect of themselves. For me it was more of a toxic like internalized misogyny thing, but a lot of people now are kind of taking that as like, oh, if you're alternative then that means you're like not actually like good or something, when it's like no, just because like yes I did start liking feminine girly stuff when I got with Boyfie, but like that was not necessarily like it's just interesting because I think there is a ingrained thing in women of like when you're in your happy place you're supposed to become this soft like thing, and I do think that does ring true for some women like myself, but it's interesting to analyze where that concept comes from and how yes, it does fit some women because like it is ingrained in a lot of us. And some women like me, I'm happy with it, you know, but it's not gonna fit all women. And like some people now are using it to try to like shame like alternative girlies or tomboy girlies or just anyone that doesn't fit in the like traditional feminine box of like clearly you must not be happy. Clearly your relationship must not be good, you know, things like that. I think stuff like that is really interesting of like where those kind of things come from and how it might have originally just been a bunch of girls being like, "Oh my god, I like pink again," but now it's like kind of turning into this weird like trad girl like dog whistle movement on TikTok where now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, like now I'm at the point where I side eye girls that make sourdough. Like we're at that point. We're at that point where if I see a chick in like a milkmaid dress making sourdough, I'm like, I don't know, man. You could be a Nazi. Because some of them really, because like, that's also just another thing that interesting of the co-opting of aesthetics. Because like in like 2020, if I saw some chick making sourdough in a milkmaid dress, I was like, yeah, that's a lesbian. I was like, yeah, that's a lesbian, and she's making sourdough for her girlfriend, and they're gonna eat it with their cats, you know? But now I see that, and I'm like, ooh, this could be some, like, trad cat barefoot pregnant in the kitchen kind of, like, weird, like, straight, like, return to tradition style relationship. You like folk music and living off the land and not wearing shoes? Yeah, like I feel like the whole like the cottage core thing was like I don't know, man. I used to just associate it with like sapphics who got really into the tale of Lesbos and like wanted to live in a little cottage with their girlfriend and like make milk and hang their clothes on clotheslines. And now I'm just like I see it and I'm like ooh, I don't. Yeah, it was how I started, but now you see it and you don't think of the lesbians anymore. Now you see it and you're just kind of like, you're Mormon, aren't you? You see it and you're like, you're Mormon, aren't you? Where's your army of children? I don't what. Do you call your husband the leader of the house? You know, think they're Amish? I don't know, man. The Amish are more chill. Like the Amish aren't really chill. They're incredibly abusive. But like at least for one, the Amish aren't posting on TikTok. The Amish don't have phones. That they like the Amish aren't really, doing that. But like I don't know, man. Yeah, nowadays I see it and I get kind of scared. I'm kind of like, oh, I don't want to know your opinions on vaccinations, you know? You gotta go. Yeah, bye, Susie. There is Amish. There is, but it's like I feel like they're so behind. Like every time I see like Amish TikTok, it's like another dimension, you know? Also, their phones it's always so low quality, which is really funny. It is always like a significantly lower quality camera. It's very funny. It's kind of like when you randomly come across like TikToks of dudes in prison. If you've ever come across those. Like sometimes I'll just randomly get some dude like busting it down in prison and I'm just like, okay, fuck yeah, dude. Like try to be there for the girly collab. If I don't show up, I hope it goes well. Yeah, you're gonna be playing with some people. I'm very excited. I've never played that game, so it'll be fun. But yeah, definitely. Which yeah, oh my god, so many collabs this week. Jesus. Shiro, I am just all up on you and Cheese channel this week for real. Like I'm just all up in there. But no, you guys are great. Uh yeah, I would love to talk about stuff like that because I just think it's very interesting. So I'm gonna definitely like brainstorm a lot. And Shiro knows, I spent so much time preparing of like trying to get like all my notes. I have like a whole I'm not even kidding here. I can show it for a moment. Like I have a whole document with like lists of like I have a whole document of lists of like here's what I want to talk about, here's all my sources, here's what you need to discuss. Like And I tried really hard to not make it super big because I didn't know how long it was gonna take me to get through it. So I feel like now too I have a better idea of like if I stay relatively on topic, how quick I can get through stuff. Also, Jesus, the state of America, where bro just posts a speech talking and someone responds, "Get ready for the rapist Islamic to take over New York City." Jesus Christ. America moment. Literally just happens to be a Muslim man, and that's the response people have. Like, oh, God, we're so cooked. Yeah, no, Elon Musk truly destroyed Twitter as a platform. It is so bad now. It is so bad. I fully, completely understand people. I got bullied a friend to finally sign up, and holy shit, dude, it's so easy to just come across straight up neo-Nazi shit. It's crazy. Yeah, dude, it's bad. I completely understand why people don't use it. Like, Boyfie doesn't use any social media, and like, I totally understand why. He gets all of his stuff from social media, he finds out through me, because he just does not engage with any of that shit. Cute little pixel artist, and then I saw they were following a shitload of Nazis. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, dude. No, it's kind of crazy when I follow someone new and then I start seeing some really sus shit on my timeline and I'm like, okay, I sense I might have made a mistake here. Because why is this showing up all of a sudden? Like, what's going on? To be honest, I kind of miss when you got to see people's likes. I don't know, maybe that's a controversial thing. I miss getting to stalk people's likes because that's how I could find out I wasn't following like a pedophile or something, you know, like nowadays I especially like I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of risky when I follow VTubers sometimes because I'm like they could just end up being like posting straight up like liking straight up lolicon shit on the side, you know, and that's just weird. So I kind of hate that like I can't really that was my primary way of like stalking someone to see like if they seemed like normal or weird, you know. And I mean I get it, like some people are like, "Oh, but my porn." It's like, "Okay, well that's what alt accounts are for one, you know." But like in his Jorkin material and everyone laughing, he deleted the feature. Yeah, it was for him watching, he was watching porn, and it was also him liking stuff about, like, glazing himself. Yeah, it was also in the height of, like, Grimes ditching his ass, too, which was really funny. But, yeah, every time he gets publicly humiliated, we lose a feature. You know, it unironically is the bit. Alright, though I am probably gonna go ahead and stop here because I am going to try to relax a little before the collab, eat some food, knowing me probably play League of Legends a bit, which isn't necessarily relaxing, but it's what I'll do. Um, but it was fun. I'm very glad that it went well and that people enjoyed. I'm very happy with how this went. And I hope that next time it'll be even bigger and better, as now I have a better idea of what I'm doing, which is good. So yippee. I'm gonna try to get that recommendation thing sorted. I just like couldn't get it how I wanted yesterday. I was trying, so I should have enough time to have it ready, and then it can be a thing I can update for y'all. So, yippee. But who should we do? You know what? I'm gonna send you guys to this girly Miss Panic. She's great. She's very sweet. She's playing Valorant right now. Go give her some love. She'll probably need it. But I will see those again potentially tonight for Overcooked collab. But until then, I will be probably suffering in League for a few hours. But thank you. Thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate it.